Hello, people. Hello, Dav, Drat, Fruichi, Meki, and Knight, according to this. Two of them I'm reasonably certain of because I can see them. Yeah, and they're talking to you unnecessarily because at the moment I haven't unmuted them, so you can't hear them. Now I've unmuted them.
Fortunately, on my channel, they could hear me, so it's all good anyway.
It's all good anyway, yeah. So, first thing, I want to apologise for the fact that the lip-syncing will be terrible here tonight. Just imagine you're watching a martial arts movie or a foreign programme on Netflix or something like that. Basically, we're getting the sound through Discord, but the video through VC, so they're not in sync. However, what this does mean is that we are in the Peanut Gallery on Discord. If anybody using our Discord wants to pop in and talk to us, yes, it could use some trimming, Fruichi, you are absolutely right. However, this was set up extremely quickly and is only ever going to be used for this one stream, so I couldn't be asked. Thank you. So yeah, we're in the Peanut Gallery in Discord, so if anybody wishes to discuss the game with us while we're going through character creation, or indeed if anybody's interested in playing and wants to sort of, thinks, oh, actually, this is looking really cool, I'll jump in, get a character created, and join.
Yay.
Yes, I know it doesn't take a lot, Fruichi, but I still couldn't be asked. Meantime, it doesn't make it that big a difference because it just hides my microphone, that's all.
Yeah.
So, yes, welcome to the character creation session for Coriolis Third Horizon.
Where's the second?
Which will have gone completely blurred the moment I did that, of course, because it couldn't see my face anymore.
That's fine.
It's a lovely looking book, it's got to be said. Lovely print quality. Let me just wave a few pages at you so you can see. So, it's
in its Blurred Wonder, it looks pretty good.
In its Blurred Wonder, yeah. Let me find a page with actual lots of artwork on it, just to show, because there's plenty
lots
of
artwork. Not just artwork, but
each chapter, for example, has a 2-page spread of a piece of art, a sort of an iconographic image, and a little introductory quote thing, an in-game quote at the beginning of each chapter. There's lots of full-colour art all the way through. It's very stylised. It looks very cool. If this is an example of how books being printed by Modiphius come out, then I slightly regret not paying out for the print copy of John Carter of Mars, which I may still buy in print actually, but on the Kickstarter, that's the word I was looking for, I only backed it at PDF level.
Well, looking at the Nibiru Quick Start, which again is a Modiphius published.
So yeah, that again, they've put a lot of effort into the artwork on that one as well, and the print quality, if it's coming through like this one, is going to be worthwhile. That's going to look like an amazing product. I mean, the game may be completely crap for all we know, but it's going to look amazing either way, and that's always fun.
Fingers crossed.
According to Mike Mills, that's it. That's all you need. Not that I disagree with him at all.
No.
So way to start my first experience of most hint players viewers of me as a GM. Insult one of the biggest names in gaming.
Yeah, taking a step back from the edge there.
So yeah, this is Coriolis Third Horizon. The answer to your question, Drat, the first and second Horizons were the earlier expansions from Earth.
Okay.
So the first Horizon was moving out and attempting to find nearby stars that could be colonized. The second Horizon, if I remember rightly, I mean I'll check this in a moment, but if I remember rightly, the second Horizon was the first group of stars colonized using effectively a warp technology. They found portals which connect stars together. It's a good old-fashioned, we don't know who built these, but there are jump gates system. And the third Horizon is this lot. We'll We'll get a little bit into that though in a moment, because I'm going to run through some of the stuff that's in the quick start. It's actually a really impressive quick start. If anybody wants to look at this game, it is available for free as a quick start on, for example, Drive-Thru-RPG or Modiphius's website. I think you can probably get it through Free League Publishing's website, though that might send you to Modiphius.
Might possibly.
Either way, the quick start is actually a 72-page document with a scenario and all the rules you need to play. It's a considerable chunk of the core rulebook, but only the bits you actually need. So, for example, the skills section in the rules in here, in the quick start, pretty much matches up to the one in the core rulebook. It's not. Here is a cut-down version of our list of skills. Here is the list of skills and their descriptions as described in the core rulebook. You're getting something that is extremely useful. From a player point of view, you can play with the quick start and probably not worry about it at all. On the other hand,
what I intend to do.
Technically, I could in fact let both of you have a full copy of the PDF core rulebook to play from, because while it's a little, the logistics of it and the legality of it are a little bit iffy, I do own the game 3 times, once in print and twice in PDF.
Good
so
Lord.
Theoretically...
Why do you buy this in PDF? I'm curious on this.
Yeah.
Okay, I originally got the game through Bundle of Holding, which was a pretty awesome bundle, actually. It was Coriolis and also Tales from the Loop, which is an award-winning game using the same system that has done really, really well. And
I've heard of
everybody's raving about Tales from the Loop, but it was Coriolis that leapt out to me as being something that I would like to play. And that gave me Coriolis, Tales from the Loop, and a bunch of supplements between the 2 games. Then I bought the print copy because I really liked the look of it from Modiphius. And when you buy a print book from Modiphius's own page on their website, shipped directly from them, they give you the PDF. So I've bought the PDF twice and the print copy once. So if I'm using the print copy, I've got 2 PDFs, which technically I'm entitled, therefore, to have 3 people reading this book at the same time. 2 in PDF and 1 in print. But it is a bit dodgy because whether PDF licenses are transferable and so forth gets into a whole morass of strangeness. But anyway, that's not what we're doing right now, but I just thought it was an interesting thing to bring up.
Okay, Fish.
So,
what do we need? We are in your hands.
We need D6s. We may not even need D6s, but if you do need any dice, it's going to be D6s, and I would suggest that you have 2 which are distinguishable from one another. If you have to roll anything in character creation, it is likely to be on a D66 table. So anyone who's played Traveller will know the D66 because it was a very common table format in Traveller. It's basically you roll 2 6-sided dice as if you were rolling percentile. So the first die is your tens, the second die is your units, but obviously it gives you a limited range of numbers running from 11 to 66 and going through the possibilities along there. There's a whole bunch of tables on the GM screen using that, which are rather cool. So for example, there's a critical injuries chart. If you roll 11, you get the wind knocked out of you. If you roll 66, your skull is crushed and you're instantly killed.
Okay.
Nice fun stuff. There's also a set of NPC generator tables using a D6, or one table with a set of columns for a D66, where you can roll on first name, last name, profession, characteristics, and activity. Quickly create an NPC to shove into your game. It's quite a nice GM screen. I very rarely see GM screens that I approve of the content on, to be honest. Can't say whether I do properly approve of this one because I've not run the game yet. When I've run the game, I may be looking at it and saying, hang on, this is a really important essential table, why the hell isn't it in the GM screen? Which I've done with pretty much every GM screen I've ever owned for any game ever. Best one I've ever owned was actually the AD&D 2nd edition GM screen. In terms of actually having the tables you need in it, that hit the mark closer than anything else. Worst, D&D 5th edition. D&D 5th edition ignores every table you might ever use and instead shoves in a bunch of tables you're never going to need and then calls itself a GM screen. That's not a GM screen. It's just a blind. That's all it is. It's a pretty picture on one side, and on the other side, pin your own pieces of paper.
I've got so many custom-made GM screens that are pretty much exactly.
Yeah.
I've hacked pictures out of magazines for the player side, and tables photocopied from the books on the inside.
Oh,
That's
yes.
the way to do it. Absolutely, yeah.
Core bond, pictures, transparent core bond. Sorry, Fablon, rather. Yeah, so you got Fablon, pictures, transparent Fablon, all my stuff on the back. The way it works.
All these posh words. Cardboard back from an A4 pad, sticky back plastic.
Yep.
That's what Fablon is.
Oh, okay.
It's what the person who used to have to sell it. Fish, I'm going with the, you want distinguishable D6s.
Yeah. This is just purely so that you know what you're rolling. Because, as I say, if you do have to roll any dice, which I'm not sure that you will, it will be probably on a D66 table, in which case, obviously, knowing what you've rolled is helpful. Though on the other hand,
2d6 here,
because we're fairly, we're fairly loose on such things, it's also entirely possible that if you're rolling on such a table, I'll let you take it either way anyway. Pick the one that you prefer, because that's quite often how we do things. We're just that kind of group.
Yes.
That's
so
how
the Third Horizon. The Third Horizon, commonly just the Horizon, is 36 star systems joined through space and time by mystic portals. Important word, mystic. It's Arabian Nights in space here. These are not Stargate-style portals. These are definitely mystic portals. The mystic, the other world, the supernatural, is a big deal in this game. One of the key mechanics is that you can pray to the icons, which are the gods of this setting, pretty much at any point during play for an effect, an immediate effect.
Okay.
But I'll get onto that in a little bit when I explain the mechanics of it. The Horizon of today is a melting pot of different cultures, peoples, and factions. However, these peoples, for the game setting, all take their inspiration from the Middle East. So, whereas most sci-fi settings, you've got people that look mainly like America. And if you go back a little way, sort of 70s and early 80s, you tended to have people who looked a lot like the Romans in space, because there was a big fan for that at one point. This one, you're looking at emirates and caliphates and people in Jalaba and so forth, wandering around being kind of funky and Sinbad in space, which immediately I thought, Sinbad in space, I can go for some of that. That sounds good to me.
I can get behind that, yes. I strongly suspect I'm going to poach your name from the Protector.
Fair enough. So, many hundreds of years ago, two colossal colonization vessels left Earth. Their names were Zenith and Nadir, and their destination was the star Aldebaran, or Aldebaran, or however you want to pronounce it, because I've heard dozens of different pronunciations.
Colin.
Colin will do. The crews lived their lives aboard the ships through centuries of deep space, so they were generation ships. We all know about generation ships, I assume, because we all are into sci-fi, otherwise why are we interested in Coriolis?
We've all played ED, we've seen what happens to generation ships.
Yeah.
It's never pretty.
Somewhere along the way, what happens to generation ships happened to the Nadir. It vanished, never to be seen again. No one knows what happened to it. The Zenith continued alone and finally reached its destination. But the people on board discovered that they were not the first to arrive. They arrived in an already colonized cluster of star systems linked by ancient portals. A long time after the departure of Zenith, the ruling powers of Earth discovered one of these portals and through it a shortcut to what became known as the Third Horizon.
That's embarrassing.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
Again, not an uncommon feature in sci-fi, the idea of a generation ship arriving after people have already got there due to an advancement in technology that allows faster than light travel. Excellent episode of Andromeda, for example.
Yep.
Number of other places as well.
Yeah.
So,
Tony Todd, I recall correctly.
That's the name I was trying to remember, which is why I sort of hung up there, because I was going to say, yes, start featuring... Yeah. Oh, God, I can't remember his name, so I won't say it.
Captain of the Bellerophon.
The Bellerophon, yeah. When you were going to run an Andromeda-based RPG, I had a member of the Bellerophon crew as my character, one of those who had left the ship after that episode.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting idea, a character from that much further back even than Dylan.
And out of time.
Yeah. It would have been quite fun. I still would, at some point, it would be nice to be able to run that, because I had some good plots for it.
It would be cool.
Or just reskin them or do them in something else. Okay.
So the first and second Horizons... let me just quickly look at this. Let's see. Right, mankind has discovered a remnant from a highly advanced culture which they named the Portal Builders, because they're very imaginative that way. The portals opened the way for humanity to travel to the stars, and a new golden age began. Colonization vessels sought out distant stars, establishing the first and second horizons. So I had misremembered. In fact, both the first and second horizons were created through were established through the portals. Finally, the third horizon was reached, and it became a haven for radicals and free thinkers from the first two horizons. Earth-like worlds were discovered and colonized, massive palaces and temples erected, civilization slowly spread across the third horizon. Then, as always happens when people are concerned, it all went to shit. And the Portal Wars began. The first horizon wanted to reclaim the systems that had freed themselves, so a war started as a result. This lasted for several years and ended with the third horizon cutting itself off from first and second horizon. The portals will operate between the worlds of the third horizon, but will no longer travel to the second or first horizon, or indeed Earth.
So the third horizon basically picked up its ball and went home.
It did indeed, yeah. Stabilizing. When the silence after the war was at its deepest, Zenith finally arrived in the third horizon. This massive arc ship found its original destination world already colonized by the lords and emirs of Dabaran. They've dropped the Al from the beginning. So Aldebaran, Aldebaran, however you want to pronounce it, is now just Dabaran. After travelling the war-torn horizon, Zenith decided on the cluster's central system, Kur, as its new home. However, a mutiny aboard soon divided the crew. People. Everything goes to shit when people are concerned. We know this.
Yep. Any system, no matter how good.
So what happened? It split along the following lines. The captain's family fled the ship and settled on the planet below. The remaining colonists cannibalized the ship, rebuilding it into the space station Coriolis, from which the game takes its name. And there is an excellent map, which unfortunately you don't get in the PDF. Let's see if I can actually show you bits of this map at least.
Oh.
Good.
That's big.
So we've only got a small part of it really, because that's just a slice through it for those two sections, but we also get the edge on. There's a poster map available that has the Coriolis on one side and the third horizon on the other side, and it looks to be really rather cool. But unfortunately, that's only available in print, which means that both the map of the third horizon and the map of Coriolis can only be obtained in print form. If you buy the game purely in PDF, if you're in a country where you just can't get hold of the print copy, you'll never get those maps. This, to me, is a flaw in the system. They need to address that.
Yeah, that's a shame.
But there you go, because they're really nice maps. And the poster map looks very good. I'm probably going to pick it up at some point. I almost bought it at the same time as the book, but it was enough to up the shipping cost. So I didn't. And now I regret that. So the Coriolis station began a new era in the third horizon, a time for trade, reawakening, and peace, ostensibly. However, the descendants of the crew of the Zenith, which being a generation ship, all the people who actually arrived had grown up on the ship. They'd never known anything but space. They called themselves Zenithians, and the people from the original colonization via the portals called themselves the First Come. The Zenithians, despite the fact that the First Come had already inhabited, colonized the area and developed their own culture and even fought a war to keep the place, the Zenithians nevertheless started to take over upon their arrival. And they do now rather dominate. many, even among the first come, still now identify somewhat as Zenithians, despite not having come from the Zenith, simply because the change in culture that it brought is something that they associate with. It's a more sort of forward-thinking culture that is a bit more go out and do things, whereas they were beginning, I think, I get the impression, to stagnate a little bit before that.
Okay,
point.
that's ironic, really.
Kept their system and then settled down, and then suddenly some new go-getters came along and said, right, we're going to do things now with this place.
Zenithians or yuppies.
Or perhaps yuppies, yes. The centre of the Third Horizon is the Kura system, where the space station Coriolis orbits the green jungles of the planet Kura. The system is also home to the burning hot... we don't really need to know about these. There's some other planets, an asteroid belt, stuff like that. Most of the system's inhabitants live on the planet Kura. Many dwelling close to an ancient wonder left behind by the portal builders, a gigantic monolith made habitable by the Zenithians, or in the industrial conglomerate that stretches along the planet's equator.
Are we talking big chisels, hollowed out monolith, or are we talking on monolith?
I haven't...
Or are we talking that's badly phrased?
I think the monolith was possibly hollow to begin with. I'm not sure. I haven't properly looked up Kura, partly because the scenario that I'm going to be running takes place in Dabaran, so I was more interested in what Dabaran was like.
Okay, no problem. No, that's fair enough, no trouble.
Yeah.
It was just purely a...
We can revisit that later.
Yeah, this is something that isn't important for the moment. When the Zenithians founded Coriolis, they sent word out, and effectively they created what, to all intents and purposes, is the Third Horizon's UN. They created sort of a council, the members of which are known as the factions. The factions are, let me see, the Consortium, a group of powerful corporations, the Zenithian hegemony, the descendants of the captain's family on board the Zenith, or the captain family, the officers, basically. They use the word captain in here a lot, right? From the numbers, I'm thinking basically it's the officers of Zenith rather than the colonists.
Yeah.
Those are the guys who settled Kura. The Free League, which is a union of free traders, the mercenaries of the Legion, the secretive Draconites, the divine Iconoclasts.
They call themselves secretive.
No, they just call themselves the Draconites, but they're described here as secretive.
I want a t-shirt that says secretive Draconite.
Yeah. The divine Iconoclasts of the Order of the Pariah, Arlem's Temple with its courtesans and philosophers, and lastly the Church of the Icons, which is the People's Church. There are two other groups that aren't factions, but or they are recognised as factions by most people, but they aren't actually on the council. These are the Syndicate, which, as you might imagine, is the organised crime throughout the and a bunch of nomads. The Nomad Federation does not have a seat on the council, but is viewed as a faction because it's a significant group of people, not necessarily of one mind, but representing a chunk of the population of the Third Horizon.
Is there a reason they don't have a seat on the council, or is that kind of a thing to find out in play? Or is that I don't know yet. I haven't
because
that
they're
far.
the mafia, and you don't give the mafia a seat on the council.
I was speaking about the Nomad. Sorry.
Yeah.
The Nomad Federation, I suspect, don't have a seat on the council primarily because they are essentially a first-come faction, and they're not representing a nice, stable, fixed group. There are a lot that are shifting around. So I have a feeling that basically the Zenithians, when they set up the council, just ignored them. But I haven't fully read all of the background details, so I might be wrong. There may be more to it.
Okay.
I don't know. So, with the council in place, the Third Horizon began to blossom again under sort of the new Zenithian, not really rule, but certainly influence. But then, just as this was happening, the peace was broken again. From the depths of the gas giant Zini rose the faceless emissaries, Spectres from another world, icons or portal builders, the theories about their origins are many. The emissaries demanded a seat at the council and got one. One of the emissaries claimed itself an incarnation of the icon the Judge, to which the Order of the Pariah cried sacrilege and closed their home system to all travel. A new age of shadows and suspicion has dawned, and the people of the horizon all wonder what is the true agenda of the emissaries. So,
the Order of the Pariah is going to end up in a cupboard just going, no, I'm not coming out.
Yeah, the Order of the Pariah basically just fight everybody as far as I can tell. So yeah, that's the basic arrangement for what we have in the Third Horizon, which should give you enough of a basic background to start thinking about what we want in the way of characters. At which point I have to swap books.
And we are the crew of an explorer ship, aren't we?
Right, yes. The first part of creating your characters in this game is that you start out creating a group. They very much go into the idea that your characters are not created individually, that you are creating a player character group. It is a full party. You're supposed to create the characters together where possible.
Okay.
And creating a group runs through the following steps. You first pick your group concept. Well, in this case, because I'm using the characters from the quick play, it's done for us, which is Explorer.
Yeah.
So if I just quickly buzz to the Explorers section. The horizon is full of mysteries to uncover. You are truth seekers who refuse to settle for the Bulletin's oversimplified version of reality. It's all there if you just scratch the surface a little. Explorers not only delve into the past, they also push beyond the frontiers of the horizon as colonists, curious anthropologists, or travelling journalists. As explorers, you dig through the frozen ruins on Surta, the remnants of the portal builders in the jungles of Coriolis, search for forgotten colonies along the Enau Arm. Explorers group concept can also be used for prospectors, colonists, and correspondents. So that's who you are. You've got a ship as a result of this. Again, the core rulebook contains rules for building your own ships. Part of creating a group is you can actually design your ship during character creation as part of your group creation. So you decide on what your concept is and you build the ship that this group hangs out on. In this case, you have actually got one of the pre-designed ships from the game. Unsurprisingly, they've given you that. Let me just find the deck plans in the rulebook. Wave it inefficiently at the camera.
Which will blur it because you can't see your face.
No, that's actually okay.
Blurry thing where you can't see my face. That is a light freighter. It's a Scarab light freighter. You may or may not have been able to see on that it looks to me like it was probably mapped using Campaign Cartographer's Cosmographer add-on because I recognise some of the icons. Not saying this is a bad thing. Love Campaign Cartographer. And that B, it actually has an arboretum. It's got a little dome on the top with plants and trees and things in it, which is kind of cool. I like that.
Okay.
It adds an interesting element of style to it.
Is that where we flee when the Weeping Angels invade?
Yes. Yes, it is. Don't blink.
So that's the ship that you have got. If we really enjoy this, and people want to play more of Coriolis, we will then have to think about whether we're going to continue with these characters or create a new group. Or possibly create a new group with these two characters that you're going to create now as its core. But maybe a different group concept. But for now, this will do. You are part of the crew of this ship, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but is a Scarab-class freighter. So once you've done your spaceship, you get to pick your group talent. This, again, surprise, surprise, has been done for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I just jump to one of the characters, I can then tell you what the group talent is. It is that you are truth seekers.
Okay.
Truth seekers. That sounds vaguely religious.
It does, doesn't it?
Let me just look up truth seekers in the group talents. So as explorers, you had 3 talent options. You could be seasoned travelers, you could be survivors, or you could be truth seekers. As truth seekers, you can find important information or get a clue from the GM without rolling dice. The information must be important enough to enable you to overcome a minor obstacle or challenge in the scenario. I get 1 darkness point if you use it. Darkness points, again, I will explain later on, but a lot of the things that you can do in this game, including praying to the icons, give me darkness points. And then I use those darkness points for various mechanisms in the game. They kind of remind me of the way the threat dice work in Axe. But, you can do stuff that give me points that I can then use to do shit.
Or like some of the chips in Deadlands.
Yeah. You can only use Truth Seekers once per session, and that's for the entire group. So it's very much an if we're going to use it, we need to agree we're going to use it type ability.
Yeah.
I think pretty much all the group talents work that way. So that's your group talent. A potentially useful talent indeed.
Yeah.
Having done that, the last 2 steps, again, we're going to skip. It's not so much that they've been done for you, as they're not really relevant for a quick play. Which is that your group will have a patron, and your group will have a nemesis. Now, they provide a list of suggested patrons and nemesis. However, what those are really they're people within the setting to give you an idea of the sort of people we're talking about. I think most GMs and groups are probably going to invent a patron and invent a nemesis for themselves, rather than pick one from the list, which is a fairly short list, to be honest. I mean, the explorers here, we've got 4 possible patrons and nemesis, and it's the same 4 people. It's one list to pick both from. So, and one of them is actually one of the pre-gen characters in the quick play, just for good measure. So I'm not sure quite how that works. Your patron is says one of the characters.
Bob could be his own patron.
Yeah.
I know this guy's name.
So that's the group creation, which we've skimmed through because we're not really doing it.
But is that really a big problem that the entire party would need to solve?
Possibly. So, for the player character, player characters have 19 steps to run through. So I'll just quickly list them all. Yeah, it's not really that big a deal. Most of these are, that's a step. So step 1, for example, is choose your background. So choose your background, choose your concept. That's the first. I say 19 steps. Actually, it starts at step 6 because we've had 5 in the group, so it's not that many.
Bloody hell.
But choose your background, choose your concept. So, that 2 separate steps. Is that 2 separate steps? It is, because they've listed it that way. But really, that's just know where your character comes from and decide on the concept. The concept is a little bit more than it may sound, however. They use the term concept in this game for what are effectively, it's not quite classes, it's more like template character creation. So the concepts are, and each of them has 3 sub-concepts, which define it further. Artist, data spider, fugitive, negotiator, operative, pilot, trailblazer, preacher, scientist, ship worker, and soldier. And as I say, each of them has 3 sub-concepts going beyond that. And during your character creation, they then sort of guide you through certain elements of the character creation. So if I just jump across to the first concept and let you know. So first off, it tells you a modifier to your reputation, plus or minus whatever number. What your key attribute is, which, as far as I can tell, is just purely in terms of that's the attribute that applies to the sort of stuff this concept does. So make sure that it's decent, not that it actually has. It's not like D&D, for example, where your key ability gave you an experience bonus.
Oh, right, gotcha.
And then it lists some skills for each of the sub concepts. We also have a list of talents to pick from, so your concept will then give you another talent. Some suggestions for a personal problem. Each character has to have a personal problem in this game.
You have to have a personal.
Some suggestions for your relationships to the other PCs, because this being heavily focused on creating a group, you will have a relationship with each PC. Essentially, your character sheet has a space that is a bit like the old World of Darkness, how do the clans view each other section, which is what do you think of the other PCs. I'm hoping...
I want to play a misanthropic loner.
I'm hoping that your characters will be able to directly replace on a one-for-one basis 2 of the pre-gen characters, to the extent that I can just copy-paste the relationships that the other characters had with those.
Okay.
How well this will work will depend, of course, on what concepts you want to go for. Finally, you will have some gear based on your concept. So there are 6... You get 6 choices, essentially. Each is a choice of 2 items. So for each of the 6, you get this or this, and those are based on your concept. So, for example, the artist gets either a hand fan or a tabula, or tablet as we would call it. And, for example, you can have either a rare collection of poems, or you can be beautiful, which I think may actually be a biosculpt rather than just that you're good looking, because it's but it's a talent either way, I'm fairly certain.
Okay.
So stuff like that. It just, rather than saying here is the complete list of everything in the game, pick the ones you want for your character, it's just like the concepts give you like a guided character creation, essentially. So after you've got your concept, you determine your reputation score, name, appearance. Those are 2 separate steps again. Then finally we get to attribute points. Then you can determine your hit points and mind points, distribute your skill levels, choose a talent, randomly determine your icon and icon talent. Now that's an interesting one. The icons...
That's not like an avatar in a game.
The icons are the gods. And we've got the only other game that I can think of off the top of my head that does this outside of video games is Han. We've got a table that effectively rolls to see which astrological sign you are born under. And that is your patron icon, and you will have a talent based on that icon.
Okay. It's that and Sky and the Elder Scrolls, let's face it.
Yeah, like I said, outside of video games. Elder Scrolls does it.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing this is because they house ruled that in their tabletop games. For those who don't know, because it's not that well known. The original Elder Scrolls games, the arena and the setting of Tamriel. The Tamriel was the setting that they used to tabletop roleplay in. So they used it for the video game.
Yeah.
Which I've always thought it would be brilliant if they went back and actually, got somebody to write it up and release it as a tabletop role-playing setting so it could be used again. I also suspect that they played Rolemaster, not D&D. When I first found this out, I heard it referred to as playing D&D, but I think that was just down to the idea of all RPGs are D&D because we don't know what we're talking about. Because Rolemaster is the only role-playing game I know in the that I own. Which has
60 odd last I heard, but that's grown.
But many of them are just D20 system variants. Rolemaster is the only game that has a Nightblade character class. And right from the very beginning, Elder Scrolls has always had the Nightblade in it, which makes me suspect. Plus, certain other elements of it as well kind of lean slightly towards Rolemaster, in my opinion. Although Rolemaster with RuneQuest's experience system.
Yes.
So yeah, then you work out your personal problem, your relationships to the other PCs, choose your gear, choose your crew position. And that is character creation in step form. So, first off, let's think about our characters' backgrounds. We are obviously going to be from the Third Horizon, because that's the only place we can be from. But you need to be thinking about things like, okay, are you an old family? Are you one of the first come? Or are you a Zenithian family? More recent? first come have been living in the horizon for hundreds of years, but have been isolated from each other for a long time. The Zenithians are newcomers who've opened up the trade routes and furthered contact between the systems once again. There is a table for home planet.
I'm tending towards Zenithian at the moment.
I was thinking the same. They seem more inclined to be the explorer sort.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, Meki, as far as I can tell, it's each individually picked background.
No, this is just... We're onto the character now. We've done the group. We're now looking at each character gets a background. So we've got a home system table. As written in the rulebook, it doesn't say you may. It says roll to determine your home planet on table 2.1. Your origin has no mechanical effect. It merely tells you something about who your PC is.
Okay.
So there are 36 star systems, and it's a D6 roll for your home system. There are 5 results and one that is pick one from the map.
Okay.
That is a flaw. First proper criticism of this game. I mean, a lot of this I'm actually reading for the first... I've skim-read this. I'm reading a lot of this for the first time as we go through it. This is a major flaw. If you only have the PDF, that map isn't there. So you get to page 22, you roll a natural 6 and you say, what bloody map? I'm picking from a list that doesn't exist. That, Modiphius and Free League is a flaw. You might want to address that.
That is a problem, yes. Yeah.
I'm guessing this question has been asked a few times on their forums.
Yeah.
One would hope they realise that and put the PDF map out either as a very cheap or free add-on.
I mean, the game's been out. Well, it was nominated for an award in 2017. I don't think it was officially released until 2018. But even so, we're in 2019 now, and that map isn't available as a PDF. So
see, this is when scans of PDF material comes out.
It's not scanned material. It's created from an original digital file. It's clearly the file that is sent to the printer, converted to a PDF.
No, I mean this is where people attack their rule books and scan them.
But it doesn't feature that map, unfortunately.
No,
so that's
not. That's weird. That's a very strange omission.
That's an oversight, which I am willing to forgive because it's a lovely looking game, but it is definitely a flaw. Yeah, being picky and looking at the bad sides as well as the good sides. So the other thing that I should mention is that there is the option to be a humanite. Now, humanites are all first come.
Okay.
Because what they are gene modded. They are people who have been, they've been here for hundreds of years, these races, and they have adapted to the environment. There are 3 types of humanite, each of which gets a talent as a result. One gets pheromones, second one gets resistant, which I'd need to look up to see what it is, but I'm guessing they're just a bit tougher. And the last one get water breathing. They clearly come from a water world.
Okay.
However,
Can I grab a water bottle and call him Kevin?
there are penalties for being a humanite.
Hate you.
If you want to.
No.
If you play a humanite PC, your starting reputation is halved. Your reputation, by the way, is determined by your upbringing, which is effectively you are going to be either plebeian, stationary, or privileged. Plebeian, not surprising, that's just the regular guys. Stationaries is the name used for those who actually grow up on a space station. Major space stations or asteroids. And the privileged, obviously, are the nobility and the high-ranking bureaucrats. Your Grand Vizier and his family would be privileged. So that determines your initial reputation. Then it's modified by your concept. And if you're a humanite, it's halved. Because humanites are not looked on quite so well. They're not pure blood.
I think personally I wouldn't want for my first character to be something overly complicated. So I'll probably avoid the humanite initially.
Okie dokie.
I might be tempted to look at a humanite as a second character or backup character, but probably not from the get-go.
I mean, if we enjoy this and decide to play more of it, I'm quite happy to continue either with these characters or with new ones, depending on how we feel. So, hello.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah, you dropped out in the last sentence.
Right. So that must silence. I think that must have been at your end.
Okay.
Since Knight could still hear me, but
that's fine. That's cool. Don't get defensive.
Your upbringing also determines the number of points you get to spend on attributes and the number of points you get to spend on skills. It basically comes down to, if you're plebeian, you have more attributes and less skills, lower reputation. If you're privileged, you have less attributes, more skills, high reputation. And then the stationary is somewhere in between the two. Also determines your starting capital. So, do you want to roll for your home system? D6.
That sounds like a plan.
Human night bites. I like that. I knocked over the bottle I had at my feet.
Right, I got a 1.
4.
Right, okay, let's get me.
Oh, Meckie's
so
rolling.
I can keep track of all this. Let's get a better pen that actually works.
Meckie rolled a 6 and needs to pick a planet, but doesn't have the map.
But doesn't have the map. Yeah, this is going to be slightly awkward.
Oopsie. Giggles when it's cold in here.
Druck, what did you roll?
I rolled a 4.
4. Ah, local girl. Right, so yeah, Knight, you are from Algol, which will keep any Artalsaurian fans happy should they have dropped in to see what we do when we're not playing Witcher, since that's where the original Mechton game was set.
God, yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yep. And Drutt, you are from Dabaran.
Dabaran.
So, things get awkward when we get to Meckie.
Meckie's picking a number.
Meckie's picking a number.
Saying 3.
Okay, if you're picking a number and saying 3, then we will say, Meckie, that you are from Kur. And if you are Zenithian, then that means probably you're actually from the station itself, so you would be from Coriolis, almost certainly. Though I'm not gonna ban you from being a plebeian or a privileged if you want to be, but the default there is likely to be stationary, because Coriolis is the obvious choice for Zenithian. You all decided on Zenithian, didn't you?
We did, yeah.
We did, yeah. Fortunate that we've all kind of gone the same route.
Yep. Yes, we're going for the outward looking.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be privileged.
All of this stuff is pretty much RP fodder. Apart from whether you're plebeian, stationary or privileged, nothing else is going to have any real game mechanic effects out of all this, but it is going to be RP fodder, gives you something to play with.
I'm bucking for privilege.
It just occurs to me that have I got the chat up?
Whose chat don't you have up? Because I've got all 3.
So I didn't check whether or not the chat was appearing on stream, just as an archive effectively of it, but I have a feeling it should be.
Yes, I must set up to capture chat.
It's quite small, but it's there. Sitting over the top of the Hint Place tabletop logo.
I was just thinking over that nice big open pink space where the picture is.
My setup is slightly different to yours.
Fair enough.
I'm making stuff up now because I've got no idea without actually looking what the inhabitants of these worlds refer to themselves as. I may need to change this when I find out, but for the moment I'm noting you down as Drat being Dabarani, Nightbites as Algolian, and Mekiador is Kuan.
The hell's that?
Anybody calls me Debbie, and they're going to be having work.
Basically, where you've got a big gap on yours to the right of me, Drat.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of things.
Somewhere amongst the tabs I have open, an advert just played, and I have no idea where that came from.
Oh, that's always fun.
So apologies to anyone listening that just heard the advert. No idea where that was.
Right, so, Nightbites. Algol is a planet of rebels, ruined by heavy industry and under draconian consortium rule.
Draconian rebels, you say?
Well, it's under draconian rule from the consortium, which are the corporations. So the rebels presumably are rebelling against the consortium on this planet. So that's your geographical background. You may well have left because you want nothing to do with that rebellion, or you may have left because you were a little too involved in that rebellion and decided it was time to be somewhere else, or for one of any number of other reasons. Kua is the centre of the horizon, home to the space station Coriolis, so we already know that's the political centre of the third horizon these days, because the council is based on Coriolis, and there is the Zenithian nobility almost down on the planet in the form of the captain family. Which again, that's the two obvious options in Kua are privileged on the planet or stationary on Coriolis. But you could be a pleb anywhere, because everywhere there are plebeians. We know this.
You just like saying the word pleb on a regular basis, don't you?
It's fitting.
And finally, Dabaran. Now, I was reading up on Dabaran. You're going to like this.
Oh, okay.
Dabaran really should be like almost the default place to play if you really want to do your whole Aladdin, Sinbad, Arabian Nights thing.
Excellent.
It's a barren desert with ravines, seraglios, oasis gardens, and domed palaces.
Wow.
Yay.
And it is the star system that you will be starting in, as I say. So,
Cool.
knowing that, you each need to decide whether you are a plebeian, a stationary, or you are privileged. Guessing
I was
Meki's
thinking
going to be
privileged.
stationary, but I will, of course, allow Meki to choose.
I think it was privileged from the get-go in my head. I have an idea kicking around for this person.
Okay.
I don't have an idea, so remind me again of the difference between the stationary and the privileged.
Privileged are essentially nobility. Stationary... Really, stationary... most people raised on major space stations and asteroids. So it's not so much a social status like the other two. It's more down to where you came from. So you're definitely coming from Algol, but you could have been raised on the planet itself, being either plebeian or privileged, or you could have been raised on an asteroid mining station within the system, or just on a station orbiting Algol itself, or I don't know, I haven't checked yet whether there are other inhabited worlds within that system.
I don't think stationary would fit, but I'm not entirely sure I want to be a plebeian, so that kind of leaves privileged.
Okay.
This could be interesting.
I like the idea of I'm starting to like the idea of someone that was privileged but fighting against the consortium and then having to leave.
Ooh, rebelling against mummy and daddy in a big way.
Oh god, it's Blake with parental issues.
Blake, I like the idea of Blake with parental issues.
Or like Princess Leia.
Oh, Princess Leia, yeah. I like Meckies. It's been a while since I've had the chance to play anything genuinely arrogant.
Closing that window and keep opening it again. I'm just going to move it out of the way so I'd like to still see OBS.
You have 3 monitors. You should be able to find enough real estate.
Oh, come off it.
No,
I mean,
okay.
the
need more
monitor
real
over
estate.
there is
I'm not running the
providing
game.
Sirenscape sound for people on screen. You can't hear it because we're playing over Discord and that's a pain in the arse. However, the people on stream can hear Sirenscape, which is doing some... I'm currently using a Starship setting that I have from Sirenscape, so it's got sort of like the spacey background noise and engine resonance and stuff like that. And an occasional comm voice and user interface sounds that are all a bit Star Trek-y. I thought that would work quite nicely. Then I've also, of course, got the 4 tabs that I have open in Acrobat Reader on that screen as well. And all the chats and VC are on this screen over here. So this screen up here, that has OBS and Discord and the properties for the Notepad 2 text element on OBS. That is the one that I've just moved out of the way.
Fair enough.
So we know this. In which case, now please write down the following numbers, each of you.
Okay.
For your attribute points, Meki, you will have 14, and the other 2 you will have 13. Skill points for Meki will be 10, and for the 2 of you will be 12. Reputation, Meki will have 4, and you 2 will have 6.
Sorry, you broke up on the start of that word.
Reputation.
Reputation. Right, okay. Is that 6, did you say?
Yeah.
Okie doke.
So, next thing is our concept for the character, which, as I said, you can think of this as sort of like a character creation template or almost a class, but you don't level up in a class. So it would be a class if you then ignored it beyond first level. Just to let you know, the 5 characters that are already in the scenario, which you will be replacing 3 of. We have got a scientist, to be precise, an archaeologist. We've got a pilot with the fighter pilot sub-concept. We've got a soldier with the legionnaire sub-concept. An artist with the courtesan sub-concept, because the makers of this game are fans of Firefly. I find it odd, actually. In the references, they list 3 things for possible inspiration, things to watch, to get into the feel of it. And the third one is Firefly. And none of them is Dune. This is based on the Arabian Nights, so we've gone for inspiration with the one that uses China. Not the one that has basically got the Taliban as the good guys.
Yeah. And now I need to watch Dune again. Thanks for that.
But yeah, there you go.
Oh, which one? The movie or the mini-series?
I haven't seen the mini-series, but the director's cut of the movie is one of my favourite films.
It is
I will
good.
confess.
The mini-series I can recommend. Very, very, very good watching.
Cool.
And we have got a ship worker. Though the ship worker is not listing a sub-concept for some reason. Let's see whether the other description... He's a machinist. Okay. So that's the characters that it gives us by default. If you weren't creating your own, that would be the characters that you'd be either choosing from or me issuing at random. That doesn't mean to say that you have got to create a character that will directly replace one of those. You're going to be replacing
but at least could fill that role.
these. The closer they feel to one of the characters in there, the easier it is for me to decide which one to replace, and obviously the less modifying we have to do on the relationships. But that doesn't mean that you need to try and do it that way.
I was actually thinking of an archaeologist.
Ah, that would be cool. Yeah, you could replace Dr. Warner quite happily.
Complete with satchel made out of a gas mask bag and a
or possibly
and
hot
don't
pants.
forget the twin pistol. Yes, don't forget the pistols.
Yeah.
Lots and lots and lots of
Yeah,
pistols.
why limit yourself, however? You know, have a bullwhip and pistols. And a hat and hot pants.
And some form of t-shirt, I hope, because otherwise those backpack straps are going to shave something
Well,
wrong.
you know, you've got options to go with there, you see. Whether you're going with the tight fitting or you're going to go with the shirt. If it is the shirt, how many buttons are undone? Because that does vary from time to time within the films. Anyway.
Occasionally from shot to shot, yes. Yeah, good point. But yes, I did loosely have an archaeologist in mind. So if there's one there that I can sub straight in, that would be ideal.
We have got then.
I was kind of thinking pilot as well. Wasn't necessarily thinking fighter pilot, but pilot of some.
Well, that's cool. There are 3 sub-concepts for pilot. You could just as easily go for driver or freighter pilot. Though if you are going to go for driver, obviously you still need to learn how to fly a ship, otherwise we're in trouble. I, meanwhile, have to spell archaeologist correctly live on stream. It's always fun. Please tell me it's written in the book. It is written in the book, and I've already got it wrong.
I try and avoid spelling anything live on stream if it's
I
like
usually
more than
spell
one syllable.
archaeologist Phil. But that's just because I'm a time team fan.
Yes. Archaeologist is Phil. I refuse to be called Philomena. Swirlies.
Okay, so do you want a little bit more information about the pilot sub-concepts before deciding?
Yes, please. Can you tell me a little bit more about the fighter and the freighter pilots? I'm obviously not interested in the driver because that's not really a pilot.
Yeah, they've just sort of grouped it all together because it kind of makes a bit of sense. So, fighter pilot. You can afford to be cocky and obnoxious because you know that in the cockpit of your fighter you are a god. It's fucking Midas!
Oh.
Apparently, the fighter pilot is Midas! Perhaps your ship is a torpedo boat or a breach pod. Maybe you're a corsair hunter or a dogfighter ace. Freighter pilot. You travel the horizon's trade routes in a freighter. The dark between the stars doesn't scare you. You could be a free trader, a dust trawler, a bulk hauler pilot, or an ice miner. If you merge the two together, you become an elite dangerous commander.
Yes. Oh, you know who it is. It's Flashheart from Blackadder Goes Forth. The fighter
I thought
pilot.
that was Midas. I thought we were talking about it.
Well,
I mean, there was a degree of Flashheart in him, in my mind. I don't know if anyone else saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like
actually,
young Flashheart,
yes.
the TV
everything
series.
but the thigh slap.
Yes. That's only because the camera doesn't go low enough.
Cam!
Maybe
Oh,
leaning
yes.
towards a male courtesan.
Yeah, he's also boobed, so give him a sec.
Yeah, I think I will go with the fighter pilot.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm sorry, you're giving me something bigger than fighter? Great, hope everyone's strapped in because we're still flying it like a fighter.
Excellent.
I remember when I was in the Air Cadets going up in a train when the pilot was a fast jet pilot.
Oh.
I'm sorry, we're off the ground. Great, hard bank.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so
That's
while we
okay.
wait for Mickey to pop back, I will give you your reputation modifiers. No modifier
Okay.
for a pilot, so your reputation so far, Knight, is still 6.
Is 6.
Assuming these are in alphabetical order. Yep, right. Scientist gives you a +1 reputation, so you have a reputation of 7.
Woohoo.
Very nice.
Noting down my
Yes.
answer them. I'll tot them at the end.
Key attribute will be wits.
Is that me?
Yeah. And as a pilot, it will be agility. That makes sense. Let me just quickly check whether there is a note about key attributes doing anything other than being useful to you. Right, yeah. Your attributes have to be between 2 and 4, except your key attribute, which may be 5 if you wish. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. So that key attribute does make a difference in terms of you get a +1 to the possible max.
Right. Translation: how many people are just going to sling 5 level key attributes?
5 into the key attribute and then decide what else they're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I will at this point run through what the attributes are.
Okay.
There are only 4 attributes in this game. These are strength, agility, wits, and empathy. They pretty much do what it says on the tin. Strength is your raw physical strength and physique. Agility, your overall body control and motor skills. Wits is your intelligence, alertness, and sharpness of mind. And empathy is your charisma, empathy, and ability to manipulate others. So, take a moment to talk about the game system now that we've got some attributes to connect it to. This is a dice pool based system. It uses normal d6s, and whenever you make a roll, you are rolling a number of dice equal to your attribute plus, if applicable, your skill, and you're looking for 6s. The game only cares about 6s. So to succeed, you need to roll at least 1 6. To get a critical success, you have to roll at least 3 6s. Now, I did look at this and think about the numbers a little bit, and came to the conclusion that while that is workable, I don't really like it. We'll see how it... We'll play with it. We will play it straight, initially, at least. But I'm not overly happy with those numbers. For starters, they are ignoring, quite deliberately, one of the biggest advantages of a dice pool-based system, which is variability of success. 2 successes should be better than 1 success. 3 successes should be better than 2 success. 4 successes should be better than 3 success. In this, 1 and 2 are identical. Anything 3 or above is identical. There are specific mechanics which relate to the number of 6s that you rolled. But as a general rule, it's just 1 or 2, 3 or more. And I don't like that. I feel that there should be a bigger difference. But that's something that can easily be not even house ruled in, but just interpreted by the GM in terms of narration. So you can easily get around that. 2 players have a go at doing a thing. One rolls 1 6, the other rolls 2 6. You give the one who rolled 2 a slightly better result, even though the game system doesn't say you should. That's easy enough to get around. Secondly, the lack of a target number, or a fixed target number, removes a lot of the versatility from a dice pool based system. Again, going back to World of Darkness, which we mentioned earlier, the original World of Darkness game system and the original Shadowrun game system both used a dice pool with a variable number of dice in the pool and a variable target number, and as a result you've got a very versatile system that could cover whatever you needed it to cover. Once you take out one of those elements, once you either standardize the pool or standardize the target number, you remove some of that versatility. If I want to change the number of the difficulty of something in this game, I have to add or remove the number of dice you're rolling, and that's as far as that goes. And that's not, to me, a good versatile system. It's playable, it's quick, but it can get a bit annoying. If you want to reliably get a critical success, statistically, you have to be rolling 18 dice. Because you've got a 1 in 6 chance of getting a 6, and you need 3 6s. That's 1 in 18.
Yeah.
So
Normal
this
people
means that
would have to roll 18 dice.
Drow just need to roll 3.
So in a game where the best of the best of the best, maximum attribute, maximum skill is rolling 10 dice, nobody can rely on a critical without without additional dice coming from modifiers. That's without having played it yet. That's my first concern about this game system. This is one of the things that stopped me from buying Mutant Year Zero before I picked this up, because I've been looking at the Mutant Year Zero game, which uses the same game system. This is known as the Year Zero system because it came from Mutant Year Zero. I really like the look of Mutant Year Zero, but I don't like this game system particularly. So I'm really happy also to be giving it a go, to be playing it, see whether it works better than I expect it to. And it's certainly, even if it doesn't work better than I expect it to, would be salvageable, but it's just how much house ruling I will take to salvage it. I did a few test rolls in Fantasy Grounds. I rolled 5 dice, which seemed like a reasonably ordinary, not your main skill, but the sort of roll people might be making a lot, based on 2 to 4 in attributes, and a skill level of 2 is kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm not a beginner, but I know how to do this. I'm not great, but I know. And I made about 5 test rolls using 5 dice, and I didn't get a success on any of them. Now, admittedly, that's my dice. Even in Fantasy Grounds, my dice are terrible. We know this. But it did concern me. You can expect NPCs to be massively incompetent in this game. So, Mekidor, let me quickly run back over what you missed, which was just what the attributes are. The attributes are strength, agility, wits, and empathy.
So, for the heart of thinking, will you elaborate on what wits cover?
I'm just going to actually write the attributes up on screen for good measure.
That's probably a plan.
Should have thought to do this before. Didn't.
Yeah, it happens.
My multitasking is not really up to typing and talking at the same time. I'll end up typing whenever I'm talking. And as it is, we've apparently got the less common attribute of strength in this game. It's a lot like strength, but with less ends.
Strength.
Yes, thank you, Meki.
If you're going to typo when correcting a typo, then if you notice this note.
Right, okay. So wits, yeah, wits is.
Which, thanks for that.
In its brief description, wits. Well, my teeth don't fit today. I apologise. Is intelligence, alertness, and sharpness of mind. Is wits.
Okay.
First house rule that I'm not going to be
empathy.
using initially, but might be using by the end of the quick play. By the way, each skill in this is tied to an attribute.
Right.
Again, if you've got separate skills and attributes, mix and match gets you a better game system. So that's likely. I'm going to start out just rolling things exactly as it is. But by the end of the quick play, we're likely to have already got to the point where I'm saying, well, okay, you want to know about this gun, so make me a wits roll using your ranged combat skill.
So basically how we
how
play how Deadlands
that
ended up, how Witcher ended up.
Yeah.
Which is, although there is generally a governing stat,
Little bit
there will
of
be
mix and match
occasions
is
where...
going to happen.
Yeah.
There aren't many skills in this game.
Well, not many
so
attributes either, to be fair.
If you've got the character sheet, I know you have, and I did link it in Discord earlier.
I have.
Have?
There are 2 columns of skills. Let me see if I can actually show this.
Go on.
Let's try a quick window capture. Do I have... No, I don't. Okay. So I'm going to need to create a new window capture because I don't currently have a window capture for Acrobat Reader, and I also don't have a right arm because it's got a cat's claw in it. Very difficult to detach a cat from you when your other hand is trying to stop your heavy rulebook from falling off the desk. So let me see if I can quickly grab...
Right, I've just bunged mine up on my stream.
Okay. That's not a very useful view at the moment, but if I put it to set to width, scroll down a bit. We've hidden all the players, but at least people can temporarily see. Here we have the skills.
Yeah, it's just pretty much it. Don't ask to see Knight for the next couple of minutes.
So on the left, we have got general skills. Dexterity, force, infiltration, manipulation, melee combat, observation, ranged combat, and survival. The general skills, anybody can make a roll on those. So if you have no points in it at all, you can roll just on the stat. So everybody can try and shoot a gun using their agility. If you have points in ranged combat, you're better at it. On the right, we have advanced skills. Command, culture, data gin, medicurgy, mystic powers, pilot, science, and technology. That's it. That's the entire set of skills for the game. It's a streamlined system. It's not the kind of game I tend to write, but it works for what it is, so that's fine. And those ones, the advanced skills, if you don't have at least 1 point in it, you don't get a chance. So you can't try and fly the spaceship without having any skills, points in pilot. I might allow you to do something more simple. I mean, I would be inclined to allow a roll on agility to slam the ship out of the way of that asteroid that's about to smeg it. But it would not be you steer around the asteroid. It would be you change direction. Maybe if you roll high enough, you minimize the damage or even miss the asteroid altogether. But the ship's now out of control. That kind of thing.
Do we have a...
By the way, I would also like to point out to anybody in the Hint Plays channel that I cloned my bot before we started playing. So notices like the one that have just come up, feel free to completely ignore it, because they're from my other channel. They're not from the Hint Plays channel. They're from Hint Fishy. In this case, actually, that link is a perfectly valid one. That's a link to DriveThruRPG with my affiliate link on it. So even if you ignore the place it initially sends you, which is the stuff I wrote, I would still get a little bit of cash if you buy something off DriveThruRPG.
Yes.
Which would be cool.
I need to get my affiliate link to Notices as well.
I think about...
a bit shy about it.
I think about twice I've ever actually withdrawn money from DriveThruRPG, and that was sales rather than affiliate stuff. It all I buy so many RPGs,
you
so
buy
many supplements. It just all comes. Oh look, I can take a few pence off the next thing I buy, and that's the way it works.
Do we have a range of stats? Because I'm seriously considering one, and I want to know if this means that I'm basically hospitalised.
I think Fishy said have to be between 2 and 4.
As I did say, the number of points you have to spend on your attributes came from your upbringing.
Yes.
The attributes must be in the range of 2 to 4, apart from your key attribute, which is from your concept. So that can be 5 if you wish.
Yeah, so, I glitched on whether it was 1 to 4 or 2 to 4.
Let's go back to Meki's concept. So, let me give you the description that they've got of the courtesan, so you can decide whether you like a courtesan. Well versed in the arts of pleasure, you live to share them with others. You could be one of the legendary courtesans of Arlam's temple, a Dabaran Mithra, a Hyrule from the Pillar Quadrant, or perhaps an Algolian food artist. So, it's not, despite the fact that it can be, hooker. Even high class.
No,
the courtesan
you're more into
is
the geisha end of things, aren't
you?
Yeah,
it could be geisha. It could be courtesan. It could be almost anything you can think of that might fit, really. It could be, I mean, under the same category. I mean, this is a subcategory of artist. We have musician and poet at the other two. It could be argued that there is some crossover there between courtesan and musician or poet in the giving of pleasure. But you can also combine the three together. You could have, for example, let's say a musician playing your appropriate musical instrument, while a poet reads poetry to go with it, and perhaps a courtesan dancing along with. That would give you all three artists in a single experience, and hopefully plenty of pleasure to be derived.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Sounds
The
good to me.
other thing mentioned, other things mentioned, we have techie hacker. Right, that would be in this game.
A person that hacks Strut's box.
Yeah. No, that would be appreciated.
That would be, as I recall, a data spider. So the data spider, the factions that rule the horizon and information guides their. So the factions rule the horizon and information guides their actions. If you can control this information, you will be powerful. A simple enough equation. But if you are one of the few who, but you are one of the few to have figured it out. I can read. I promise. I can read.
I'm just relieved it's not me this week.
You are a data spider, carefully weaving a complex net of data. I can't apparently read
What's a
today.
complex neck?
It's a bit like a simple neck, but more complex. Gathered from the most obscure sources. You might not be the sharpest dressed or have a single bear to your name, but you have information, and information is power. The three subgroups of that you've got.
I did just mishear that as beard.
Hey, don't be dissing beard.
You may not have a beard to your
I'm
name.
sure it's supposed to have a
obviously
nice
beard
rolly R on the end. It's B-I-R-R. I'm sure it's supposed to have a nice rolly R on the end, the kind that I can't do when my teeth don't fit. Yeah, that could be it. Davkus has got it. A complex neck is one with more chins. So yeah, you could be an analyst, gathering and compiling data from many different sources and systems. You could be a correspondent, working for the Bulletin or some other smaller news organization, collecting and disseminating information. Or you could be a data djinn, spending your days by the computer wherever you are. Careful whisper, you can control and direct complex systems. That's the hacker. So yeah, a data djinn very much is your decker in this game system. So we also had a suggestion for... What did we have a suggestion for? Lost the blatant comment now. Well, spy would probably come under... I mean, it could come under data spider correspondent, but more likely it would come under agent. Since we have an agent, as I recall, which I now can't find. Could have sworn we had agent. These are in alphabetical order. Why is that not at the beginning? Maybe agent was a sub thing and it was of something else. Or maybe they changed its name. Since looking through here, we find operative, which I don't remember from the list, but I do remember agent, I'm sure. So I think agent may have changed its name to operative. Operative has the sub-concepts of assassin, guardsman or guardswoman, and spy. So, wild stab, spy probably comes under the spy sub-concept. Yeah, just guess.
Sounds reasonable.
So, apart from botanical interest, you probably all of them are available here. I'm going to go back and check that list of concepts again because I want to know if I'm losing my mind or if it definitely. I'm sure I have agent.
So a hacker with moves.
No, operative. There it is. It's operative in the list. Where did I get agent from? Yeah.
Strangeness.
But that was entirely me, not the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being a fool. No, where the hell am I agent from? Maybe I was thinking of a completely different game. Which is a bad thing to do when you're trying to run this one.
Yes.
So. Yes, indeed, Mekidor. Courtesan gets you places, data djinn earns you the credits. You can, of course, kind of cross-play, essentially, between them. You can be a data spider with courtesan skills, or the other way around. Enough of that, you.
Read.
Excuse me, no, it's alright. I'm just reading the chat.
Oh,
So controlling a computer by means of an external device that isn't a key. Whoever would think of such a
would
thing?
do such a
see,
thing?
you're fine. You're fine on that. You're used to tapping away on the drums. Interpretive dance in order to access a data haven, however, my brain's just giving me nothing.
Yeah, but think, hacking Black Ice, it looked like he was at a rave.
Right. You may recall that I said there were some concept skills when I quickly described the concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Each concept has a number of skills, each sub-concept has a number of skills associated with it. When you are dividing up your skill points, you can put up to 3 in each of your concept skills. Anything else, you can only put 1 in. So you can take any skill that you want, but you can only be a novice in things that aren't relevant to your concept. So a courtesan who could hack, for example, would only get 1 point in the data gen skill because it's not one of their concept skills. On the other hand, a data spider who has some courtesan abilities actually would do pretty well. Courtesan concept skills: manipulation, culture, dexterity, and observation. Datagen concept skills: datagen, manipulation, observation, and science. 2 of them cross over.
Yeah.
You've still got manipulation and observation as a datagen. Pretty certain manipulation is as in other people. So let me just jump to the skills descriptions and double check this. Yeah, manipulate, empathy, lies, persuasion, threats, charm, or seduction. There are many ways to make someone see things your way.
I think Meki's got a character going there.
So yep, we can indeed go with a data spider with a courtesan on the side, so to speak. Right, in which case, let me make a note of that up here. Now, I'm assuming from what you were saying earlier on, you're going to go with the datagen sub-concept, which is the hacker type.
Sounds like.
Okay. Ooh, that wasn't an enter button. That was a completely different thing. And there's an 8 there where it doesn't want to be. Okay, I can't read and I can't type, but other than that, I'm doing really well this evening. Glad we're only creating characters.
Just as well.
It could be worse.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Right, so reputation, no reputation modifier for a data spider. Key attribute is wits. So, for 2 of the 3 of you, therefore, when you are dividing up your attribute points, which I've already issued to you, you can put up to 5 in wits and 2 to 4 in anything else. Those attribute points, of course, was 14 for Meki, 13 for everyone else. So, sort out your attributes, please.
Sorted.
Done it.
So wishing I had a good countdown-y type sound effect on this. Best I can do, though, is a dramatic note.
Yeah.
Right,
I
so...
went with strength 2. Agility 3. Wits 5.
So, this is, for anyone who's read my recent blog post, this is a narrative system. Although we have a table for skill levels telling us roughly what each skill level represents, running from novice to master, we do not have a similar thing for attributes. We know attributes run from 2 to 4 for most people, with up to 5 if it's your concept attribute, but we don't have a attribute 3 is average or attribute 2 means you can lift X amount type table. So, as far as I can tell, therefore, we are pretty much just looking at don't expect these to directly correlate to things in the game's real life. Rather, this is a narrative tool just for how many dice you're rolling. We do, however, from them derive hit points and mind points. Hit points are equal to your strength plus agility, and as you might expect, are the amount of damage you can take before you fall over, wave your legs in the air, and start rolling a new character. Or in this case, picking
Just
a character.
don't sneeze on me, okay, guys? Don't sneeze anywhere near the pot.
What's yours?
Not good.
Yeah, neither's mine.
Mind points are the mental equivalent, so they are degraded by stress. And this being a game featuring the supernatural in many respects, probably all kinds of fun stuff.
Did you say total or average? Because sort of bled out a bit.
It is the total of.
Right. Faded out, not bled out. What the hell was my brain?
You were already thinking about things that can reduce your mind points when
I tell you what, ever since I found out this afternoon that you can substitute blood for eggs in a recipe, my brain is now just completely...
How much blood
I'm
per
not sure I want you to know that.
It's actually different amounts depending on whether you're using white yolks or whole eggs, and different sizes.
Could you send me the link you got that from? Because that would be really handy to know.
I will see if I can dig it out, yeah.
Before I go...
There are recipes.
For a game I'm planning to run.
I'm glad you said that.
There are recipes on the net for it.
Good lord.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at this critical injuries table now and wondering... lacerated kidney, for example, 41 on the critical injuries table. So yeah, I can see here what the effects on you are of a lacerated kidney. I'm just wondering how many mind points the people around you lose, seeing you have your kidneys lacerated.
Most of them probably.
Depends if you're doing the lacerating.
There is that.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yeah.
so...
How many mind points did you lose? I don't know, is Cthulhu Rising from Relay yet?
Yes, you can have a maximum of 9 mind points as a starting character. The cost for seeing Cthulhu Rising from Mulier, 23 mind points.
Got 8.
Right, so we're on to skills now.
Okay.
So, I will run through
what
your
concept?
concepts, each of you, and let you know what your concept skills are. So, as I've already mentioned, but I will say again and type in chat to give a record, the Data Spider has Datagen, Manipulation, Observation, and finally, Science.
For science.
Sorry, but science just on its own like that. It needs an exclamation mark and it needs to be science.
Possibly with a little echo or reverb or something.
Possibly. Right.
Science!
Yeah,
yes.
kind of like that. That's definitely in the Nile Empire source book for Torg. That's what science is all about. It's definitely
Excellent!
yeah.
I like that.
I so want to run Torg. I just need preferably 6 players.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right, for
So
a
if anyone
fighter pilot.
wants to play Talk.
A fighter pilot also has Datagen.
Okay.
Unsurprisingly has pilot.
Good.
As a fighter pilot also unsurprisingly has ranged combat.
Okay.
And has technology.
What does that cover? Because that seems fairly sort of wide range.
All these skills are pretty wide ranging, to be honest. Because there are so few skills, they kind of have to be. But I will run through what the skills are in a moment. I'm just going to dish out the skills for an archaeologist first, though. You have culture.
Okay. Culture.
Observation. Science. And survival. So there is definitely a touch of the Lara Jones or Indiana Croft about these guys, because they have survival.
Culture, observation, and survival.
Culture, observation, science, and survival.
Oh, science. Of course. Science.
Yeah, your scientist might need science. Just a thought.
Science is now in all caps with an exclamation mark.
Excellent. So, if you've all got the character sheet, you can all see the skills list. So you can put up to 3 in each of your concept skills. Any other skills you can only put 1 in. And the number of points that you have to put into them, 12 for you who are privileged, and 10 for the stationary character.
Right.
So let me look at the advanced skills and confirm a little bit about what they do. Technology. Others may view technical gadgets as almost magical, but you understand their inner workings. This skill is used when handling machines, mechanics, electronics, and explosives. You can repair anything from a small gadget to a spaceship. This skill is also used when blowing things up.
Okay. I can't on to the blowing shit up. for my high-class rebellious terrorist, blowing shit up sounds fun.
Sounds fun, yeah.
Excellent. Culture-ish?
Culture. You are a person of wisdom and with insight into a wide array of subjects. You have studied the diverse cultures and peoples of the horizon and know of their traditions, faiths, and superstitions. You are also familiar with their home planets, beings, and animals. Test culture to see if you can recall something advanced, like the proper greeting among the Sogoi of Kua, the trade routes across the Salam Plains on Algol, or if Bokor can be driven off through prayer. If you have access to old books, databases, or the Foundation's info logs, you get a positive modifier. Datagen, as one might expect, is basically hacking. Most computers are voice-operated, but interaction through touchpads, data stylus, or via the user's cybernetics is not uncommon. Most people in the Horizon can use basic data systems, but advanced operations require a datagen test. For example, entering protected systems, modifying or writing new programs, or counteracting spyware and attack memes. The darkness between the stars has turned up.
Oh, he's just off the corner of the screen.
I'm slightly concerned about Medicurgy.
Yeah.
It sounds like medicine.
Yeah, it is basically medicine.
Dab of mysticism.
Well, this is a mystic setting, so it is Medicare with a touch of mysticism. It's Mysticare.
Yeah.
Having this skill means you're trained in the healing arts, how to care for the ill and wounded, and how to treat psychic maladies. Skillful Medicurgs, that should have an E in it, Medicurges, also perform cosmetic surgery and bionic sculpting.
Medicurds, that's like lemon curd.
Yeah.
Would you have any objection to, because I can only put a point into each, taking Mystic Powers and Medicurd?
Right, let's look at Mystic Powers. I mean, I know what it's going to do. It's going to do mystically powered shit. But let's have a quick look.
It's just, I like the
Lemon
culture
curd
element.
It's absolutely lovely. If you don't have it over there, then you should change country immediately.
Lemon curd's lovely. Lime curd is lovely as well.
Right, Mystic Powers. In the last few years, reports of mystics, people with special powers, have started to surface. The reaction didn't take long. Among the religious cults, mystics have either been murdered or worshipped as heralds of the icons, depending on the cult's belief. The Bulletin's newscasts on Coriolis have reported from council meetings on the highest political level debating the legitimacy of mystical powers. To acquire the skill when creating your PC, you must pick the subconcept Mystic. Sorry. You can, however, acquire the skill during play, regardless of concept. This means that dormant powers within you suddenly manifest themselves. Each mystic power counts as a separate talent. There is one mystic thing that you can all do, however. Yeah, they probably would, Chrono Magistrate. Oh, I don't know. Nothing wrong with an urge now and then.
So,
depends how you satisfy the urge, I guess.
Did that lop out both Mystic Powers and Medicurgy?
No, Medicurgy is absolutely fine. You can have that.
Okay. Right then. Okay.
Infiltration, as in what skill would it be, Megiddo? Oh no, it is a skill, of course, yes. Infiltration, yes. Avoiding confrontation by sneaking around the enemy is often the wiser choice. Test infiltration when you want to move unnoticed, so it's stealth.
What is dexterity? Is that things like picking locks?
Dexterity is jumping, climbing,
Running, jumping, climbing trees.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, running, jumping, climbing trees, to quote Eddie Izzard. When you jump, climb, sprint, or perform an action that demands speed or coordination, you test dexterity. It's just kind of a catch-all athletics, climbing, running.
Okay, that leaves me 3 points to spend.
Lucky you, I blew through all mine. I'm now kind of, well, should I
Yeah, what are you
possibly
gonna
take
lower
one of
to?
mine
Yeah.
down?
Yeah, I haven't put any points in ranged combat yet.
What is this thing you call ranged combat? Yeah,
And,
that's a point.
and that's when I can put 3 points in. And I have 3 points to spend and more skills I want to split between them.
Agility, Del, was one of the attributes. So the dexterity skill is rolled using agility.
It's a bad idea given the character background, but I'm going to have to go with 0 Metacurgy.
Yeah, interesting point in this game. There is no spot hidden. There is an observation skill, but you do not roll it to spot hidden things.
Okay, what does observation cover then?
Observation. An adventurer in the Third Horizon must always be vigilant, or she won't live long. You test observation to spot someone sneaking up on you, which is an opposed roll against their infiltration. You can also test the skill when you spot someone or something at a distance if you wish to know more. You don't roll it to see that hidden thing. Instead, the way hidden things work in this game is quite simply, if you say you're looking in the right place, I tell you it's there. So there's none of this, I search the desk for a secret compartment, roll me search, as something like, say, D&D might do. Instead, it's I search the desk for a secret compartment. Okay, you mess around for a few minutes and find a secret compartment. If it's there, you find it. There's not a roll for that.
Is technology basically engineering?
Technology is the use and repair of all kinds of technological gadgets, yeah.
Okay.
Whether it be internal combustion engines, electronics, or bombs.
Fair play. Okay, so I've
Sorry,
knocked
did you
my
say
observation
bomb?
point. Yeah. Yeah, you're going to want technology.
Yeah.
Ranged combat.
Ranged combat is for shooting things.
Yeah. Technology was when I can put 3 points in.
Yes, technology was one you can put 3 points in, yeah.
So was ranged combat.
Yep. Apparently they train their fighter pilots to blow shit up.
I have taken dexterity and ranged combat. I have no comment at all about whether or not I'll be swinging around on the bullwhip.
It's definitely Lola Jones, isn't it?
Yes.
Question. With a bullwhip, if you're stood at bullwhip's length away from someone, is that melee or ranged? Because you're using effectively a melee.
Melee.
It's an interesting question.
There is a melee combat skill there, which is on strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, it would be a melee skill with a greater reach, melee attack with a greater reach than a normal melee attack. So similar to a polearm, for example.
Yeah, it just means your attack distance is different.
Yeah.
You just need to know your range.
Or is it the
Doesn't make any
ballista
difference
attack
to me,
with
I'm
a
not
rapier,
curious.
which actually has one of the longest reaches of any melee attack going?
I am never facing you if you pick up a rapier. Forget it. You'll be lunging from halfway across the
Yeah,
bloody
I would be able to stab somebody in the next town with a rapier. It's never going to happen though, because it requires far more so than long swords. Fighting with a rapier requires coordination, and that is a thing I have never had.
I'm just looking forward to poleaxe.
See, I used to do that. I used to fence.
Oh, you did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
And in between it, he, in between selling stolen goods, sometimes he also messed about with the rapier.
Fair enough. Okay. Currently, as it stands, I'm packing Culture 3, Observation, Science, Survival at 2, and then a point each in Metacurgy, Dexterity, and Ranged Combat.
Right. Okie dokie. So your
Which
concepts
seems reasonable.
are going to
Meki
give
would like
you...
to know what you roll for untrained.
You
Oh,
don't.
I'm
Right.
pointing. You can't see.
Skill
see
rolls in this
integral-
are always attribute plus skill. If it's a general skill, you can roll the attribute on its own without any points in it. If it's an advanced skill, you have to have at least 1 point in the skill to be able to roll it. But you're always rolling it with the appropriate attribute. So, Data Gin, you'd be rolling a number of dice equal to your wits plus points in Data Gin. Unless you have 0 in Data Gin, in which case you stand there looking confused. Manipulation, on the other hand, trying to convince somebody of something, you would be rolling empathy plus your points in manipulation, and if you have no points in manipulation, you'd just be relying on raw empathy.
Would be nice to have a flash somewhere. Oh yes, advanced. They could write that small. I mean, I've got it in a fairly big window.
Yeah. As I say, the general skills are on the left on the character sheet, and the advanced skills on the right. I will quickly just pop the character.
So for dexterity, you can make a dexterity roll without having a skill.
Previously. So these skills here: dexterity, force, infiltration, manipulation, melee combat, observation, ranged combat, and survival. Those are general skills. Anybody can roll them whether they have points in them or not. And on the other side, command, culture, datagen, metacurgy, mystic powers, pilot, science, and technology can only be rolled if you have at least one level in those skills.
I'm really trying to work out how I can get a point into command, but I can't figure it out because I don't want to drop anything else.
Just to let you know, the 3 points that you can get up to, level 1 is considered novice, 2 points is capable, and 3 points is competent. You can't start as experienced or master. But the system tops out at 5. So if you could start with your skills higher than 3, with a system that tops out at 5, that starts getting a little bit silly. It's like, where do you go from here? Why am I even adventuring? I should have retired by now because I am effectively god of my job.
Competent at culture, I can make yogurt with the bed.
So,
I think I'm happy with my point distribution.
Let's start with the scientist, because I've already got that page open. And you get to pick one of 3 talents from your concept. You can either be,
than I expected.
and I will look up these talents to give you further information, but if you're totally not interested in one of them, I obviously won't bother looking it up. I suspect I'm only going to look up one of them. You can either be a field metacurge, you can be a gearhead, or you can come from a wealthy family.
Wealthy family?
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Sorry.
So let me just look up what wealthy family does for you.
I love how wealthy family is a talent.
Yep.
It was a knack to be born into this particular family.
Talents cover basically any kind of cheaty bits in this game. So cybernetics are a talent, biosculpts are a talent. The power granted you by whichever icon you were born under is a talent. Everything is a talent if it's not a skill or an
that.
So, nope, I'm looking on the wrong page. But this is alphabetical order. Where is that talent? That talent is in the list of talents, not the list of cybernetic abilities. General talent. Wealthy family, there it is. You can use the rumours of your family's vast riches to give yourself a +2 to manipulation in any situation where the GM deems it relevant. Whether the rumours are true or not doesn't matter. You can only choose this talent if you come from a privileged background, which of course you do.
I do.
And as mentioned previously, the way modifiers work in this, there would be an extra 2 dice to roll. So your manipulation is currently rolling on what? Before
just my empathy.
Just empathy.
So 3.
So if you can rely on your wealth or rumours of wealth to help you, you'd be rolling 5 dice instead of 3 dice for that.
I can deal with that. I nearly took manipulation, but again, I couldn't work out what did. Observation
is, as would be expected, it is for spotting stuff, but it's not for finding hidden things. So it's the spot part of the skills from D&D 3rd edition, without the search skill.
Okay.
Searching would just be if you search the right place, you find it. But spotting that guy with hiding over there with a gun, that still comes under observation. It's commonly rolled as an opposed roll against somebody else's infiltration, where whoever gets the higher number of 6s wins.
So spotting that blip on the radar, spotting that defensive turret as I'm flying down the trench.
Indeed, yeah.
Also,
certain hidden things I would be inclined to roll for if it's not fully hidden, if you see what I mean. If it could be spotted, I would allow for a roll on that. So, for example, if there is a letter sticking out of a book, slightly sticking out of a book, it's technically hidden in the book, but as far as I'm concerned, that would be an observation roll. However, there also the way the game states it would be the way it would work, because if you say I'm looking in the book, you'll find the letter. And if there's no sign of it at all, then you wouldn't have got a roll anyway. So let me see. More talents. Coming back through, we find fighter pilots next. Right.
Okay.
As a pilot, you can have one of the following: 0G training, exo specialist, or you can have a targeting scope, which is a cybernetic implant. Let me have a quick look and see what they actually do. 0G training.
What was the second one?
I've forgotten now. Exo specialist. I'll tell you what it means in a minute. I think it's basically bonuses with using vac suits. 0G training gives you a +2 to dexterity when in 0G. Exo specialist gives you +2 to both dexterity and force. It says dexterity or force, but it's going to apply to both. When handling an exo of some kind. Oh, so actually, yeah, it's a full-on exoskeleton. You can indeed, with the exo specialist talent, get +2 dice when uttering the challenge. Get away from her, you bitch.
Oh, you just desperately want a power loader with guns, lots and lots of guns.
Well, there are battle exos in this. They exist.
True.
Yeah.
The third option was a targeting.
The third
Does
option
that work
is a cybernetic implant targeting scope. Yes. So let me look up what the targeting scope does.
You need the noise from the $6 million man.
Yes. Well, for starters, it makes that noise no matter what. One of your eyes has been enhanced with a targeting scope. Makes it easier to hit with firearms. +1 to ranged combat, short range and above. Does not work for quick shots. Now, without actually looking it up, as far as I can tell, because there's no separate skill for it, ranged combat, I know. Ranged combat would be used for shooting things in a spaceship as well, because you're still firing a firearm.
I'm guessing that because it gives me the ranged combat as a pilot.
Yeah, so it makes sense that ranged combat applies for the weapons, and this is going to be any ranged combat. So I personally, as just a GM, I will allow that. I'd be inclined to say that throwing something, playing basketball type throwing something, rather than hitting someone on the head with a rock and killing them type throwing something, would probably be a dexterity check rather than a ranged combat check. And I would allow the targeting scope, obviously, to apply in that situation as well. And maybe that people would tell me I'm wrong and that you should roll ranged combat to try and get a ball in a hoop. But I personally think it comes under dexterity.
Can't believe I just moved Fishy's window slightly so people can see Pippin. He's a big old thing.
He hasn't been fed in 20 minutes. He's very unhappy.
I will take the targeting scope.
Okay.
Meki was querying cybernetic.
No, that I have found so far anyway, there is no negative effect for cybernetics in this game. So we do not have we don't have people going cyber psycho, and we don't have people looking very warily at you because you're covered in chrome. But you also aren't going to have that much cybernetics in this game because they're talents. You're going to get one at the beginning of the game if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe two, I suppose, because you get your concept talent. If you get one there and then you get a talent after that, you might be able to get a cybernetic level. Or from equipment. There's some cybernetics in the equipment as well, which effectively gives you another talent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, the talents available to a data spider, make it all. You can have faction standing, which I haven't looked up, but I'm guessing gives you some kind of recognition with one of the factions. Judge of character, or third eye. So, what the heck do any of them do? Third eye, you have the ability to... So?
else has it easy, don't make it.
Yeah. Third Eye, you have the ability to sense an ambush, and once per session you can avoid the effects of being surprised. The talent also gives you a constant +2 to observation when trying to detect a sneak attack or an ambush. Okay, Third Eye has its uses. Faction standing. Thank you, Cat. You belong to a faction or a gang and can use its reputation to get a +2 to manipulation when trying to scare or threaten someone, given that the person you are threatening knows of the faction and that faction has some influence in the location where you are. Right, I don't know whether we're suffering here from translation problem. This could have fallen down the language gap. Because we're using the factions on the council are simply called factions, and we're also using the term faction just to refer to another faction that is not one of the factions. So it may well be they were a different word in Swedish, or it may be that this is just always the way it has been, but either way, we're talking faction with a small f here, just some group or other that you have standing with. It's the equivalent of Drut's wealthy family, but it could be a hacker conglomerate or a street gang or a criminal gang or a group of a well-respected circle of journalists or something like that for a data spider for faction standing. And what the hell was that third one? Judge of character. I'm going to take a wild stab that it gives you a bonus when judging characters. You can tell if someone is lying or telling the truth without testing manipulation. It takes about a minute, and you can't tell any details, only whether the person is lying or not. Half-truths also read as lies. Each use gives the Games Master 1 darkness point. Ooh. As I said earlier, darkness points let me do things. Well, actually, we'll talk a little bit about darkness points again now, because I also said earlier that I was going to explain about praying to the icons, and I haven't done it yet. Now you know about your attributes and skills and how you roll them. You need to know about praying to the icons. Whenever you make a roll, you can immediately, should you wish, straight after it, choose to pray to the icons. If you do, you can re-roll all of the dice that are not sixes.
Okay.
The downside to this is that whenever you do that, I get a darkness point. So I really like this rule because it's not just this is a mystic setting, look, there are mystics who have special powers. Everybody has a mystic thing they can do, which has a genuine mechanical effect, can immediately help you, but does also bring on the darkness. And to me, that really adds to the feel of this being supernatural, not just sci-fi. That's one of the rules in this game that I really like.
Yeah.
Of course, Drut will never use it. Because Drut will critical on every roll anyway. Even if she only has 2 dice.
I do not. I will not. Don't be silly. Often.
But yeah, there are various things I can use darkness points for. I can use them for the NPC equivalent of praying to the icons. I can use them to power certain abilities. In the same way that I get darkness points when you use certain talents. NPCs or monsters may have certain talents that cost me darkness points to use. Okay. Also, haven't fully read through how these mechanics work yet, but it seems that I can spend darkness points to trigger what would be either scripted or random encounters in another game, looking at the scenario. The scenario has certain events which have a darkness point cost listed. So it would seem to be that maybe I can, not doing something from this scenario obviously, but picking something else. Say you were fighting pirates who are attacking your ship, and as part of this I decided that there was the possibility that the pirates have these drones that could suddenly pop out of the ventilation shaft. That would be something maybe that would cost me a darkness point to use. And so long as I've got darkness points, these drones can keep on popping up. It's not just, oh, he's got 3 drones listed on his character sheet, he can use them. I just spend a darkness point, drone pops up, tries to shoot the back of your head off. Stuff like that. The darkness points, in many ways, second time I'm drawing a comparison to one of my own game systems, because I'm like that, and I basically like to show off. The darkness points again remind me of the way Axe and its threat dice work. There are elements in this that, while having a radically different system, do remind me of some of the way that Axe operates in terms of the dice pools and the way they interact between the GM and the players. That is of no meaning to anyone who hasn't played Axe, which consists of drought. Actually, if Frucci's actually watching rather than just lurking in chat, Frucci has played Axe as well.
Oh, good point. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, on my YouTube channel there is I've forgotten what I called it now. The Something House. There is a short ghost story that I ran.
It's not the Marston House, is it?
It's something like that. Possibly the Middleton House.
Yeah.
I think it was set it's definitely set in I can't remember the name of the city I invented in my setting for my game.
So wait, your memory this time of year goes completely.
But it's got a neighbourhood called Middleton, and the house was in Middleton, so it was called the Middleton House, yes.
Mm.
And that was you, Wenchkin, Gary, and Frucci played that.
Yeah.
On my YouTube channel, if anybody is interested in seeing it. It wasn't that good, but it was quite fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That just me off picking
no, that's not the way darkness works. You don't get consumed by the darkness. Instead, the forces of darkness just appear around you.
And consume you.
It's not a corruption. It's more it's more drawing it to you. It's like you don't want to put the ring on because the Witch King of Angmar will come looking for you and start saying,
it's like a
I think you'll find that belongs to a mate of mine.
God, the Witch King of Angmar is from Essex. Jesus.
Hello, Bob.
Meki, it's the Witch King of Essex. Did you not know that? As opposed to that famous TV series, The Only Way is Angmar. Now needs to be made. I want to see it.
Yeah, The Only Way is Angban. Yeah.
Oh,
good lord.
So, Meki, did you have any thoughts about which of those three talents you might like for your character? Apparently not.
Apparently not. No.
Give him a chance for the stream delay to catch up and all that lovely stuff.
It was pretty good earlier on. You replied awfully quickly.
Yeah.
So, but I think I have still forgotten to turn on the low latency thing.
Yes, we are explorers.
You are explorers as a group concept, but explorer does have a rather wider meaning and interpretation than it might in other settings. I mean, taking Elite Dangerous, for example, if you were playing an explorer in the Elite Dangerous RPG, you'd be expecting to leave the bubble and go out looking for fun stuff. Though there are still plenty of planets to look at within the bubble that haven't been properly explored. An explorer in this also covers, or an explorer group in this, also covers things like journalists. Colonists, curious anthropologists, travelling journalists, prospectors. So you're not necessarily exploring geographically. You could be exploring culturally. So you identify lies if you've decided that what your explorers are exploring are the factions and the peoples of the Third Horizon and what they're doing. Which would be a bit more anthropology than archaeology, but you could still make that work for your character, Drat. In that situation, identifying lies. Knocking over now.
Identify cat.
Apparently I am not allowed biscuits because they come in a packet, and if things come in a packet, they must belong to the cat. He knows this because when I feed him, it comes out of a packet. So therefore, that must be what it is.
He's never entirely been the sharpest box.
Oh no, he's thick as a whale omelette.
But he's gorgeous.
But he is.
Gets away with it.
What I'm going to do now, I'm going to give you a moment to think about these talents and what you want, and maybe discuss it with Drut and Nightbites while I go and feed the cat before he causes even more trouble.
I love even more.
How much use is identify lies? Well, that depends on how many lies you're going to talk to, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be really, really useful.
Yes, I was checking out surname options. What are the options for Mechia? Third eye makes sense. Yeah, I can see that, to be honest.
So was that?
Cat takes about 3 seconds.
Yeah, well, I fed him. I had one of those trays of cat pate, and he had half of it earlier on, so it was just a matter of tipping the other half of the tray into the bowl. Didn't take a lot.
Is that not?
Did you say cat pate?
Yeah, that's pate for cats, not pate made of cats.
Okay.
They don't sell that round here, or if they do, I haven't found that shop yet.
But would you try it if they did?
No.
No.
I mean, there is that
Pate.
place up the road that I've got no idea what they sell because none of it's written in English. But I don't think, pretty sure they still don't sell such things.
Yeah.
Right. You were just about to start mentioning. You got partway through the first sentence about names and things, which is a question I was about to start asking.
Yeah. I just went exploring at least names, family names, basically. But are we talking here, Fish? I mean, are we talking any surname types available? Are we talking predominantly? We're going with that sort of feel, Middle East.
Yeah, it's all of the names aren't certainly in the pre-published stuff. It's all sort of like that Arabic type of feel.
Right. So yeah, I just went wandering off to the wiki page on Arabic name.
On the GM screen in the NPC tables, we've got a selection of first and last names, which I could give you a few samples from if you wanted. I can't pronounce any of them, but
I've gone. Pronunciation was a thing for me, so I went with one that I know how to pronounce the first name of because she's a character in the Protect. So I've heard people speaking Arabic saying her name. So I thought Zainab Farouk would work. The surname in Farouk just being... Apparently it means... Is it one who redeems? I think it was.
Okay.
I'm
breaking up. I have no idea what you said there.
Who distinguishes between right and wrong, Farouk.
Okay.
Apparently. So that means I get to be officially judgmental.
Yeah, cool. Always good.
Genetically judgmental.
I will need to research and come back with the name later.
The spelling is different, Ricky, but yeah, basically.
Oh, it is.
Oh, it is that, is it?
It's that spelling. Because, of course, it's an anglicised version.
Yeah, it's one of these things that...
It's a non-Roman script.
Yeah, where you're going with a different alphabet. There's 14 different ways of spelling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fits into Coriolis very neatly. No problem with that. Yeah, I really need to do something. Need to make this bot a hint plays bot instead of a hint fishy bot. But I just wanted to be able to get the multi-link up.
No, that's fair enough.
And this was literally last second before the stream.
See, last time I had a character with a name from that sort of region. He had a little friend called Mija.
Yay, that's going back a bit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, don't expect me to do the voices, because if everyone in the setting has the accent, then no one in the setting needs the accent. That's the way it works.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Whenever you hear me speaking with an English accent, you can hear Arabian. Everybody's happy.
Yes.
Indeed.
And not me.
Okay.
Who was mobile.
Becky came prepared, apparently.
Becky's cheating. That's going to get short.
Oh, that is so going to get short. It's all right for you. You guys can shorten it because you're familiar. It's going to be in the mouths of NPCs for me. They're probably going to use the whole thing.
Yes. Oh,
Someone
fair
out
enough.
there hates me, and he's called Mechiadon.
Oh, Mickey's lovely. What you mean about me?
While I work on a name that I'm happy that I can pronounce, what's the next steps?
Yeah.
Well,
yes, we've only got one talent each. Do we get others?
Yeah. Okay. Just quickly putting the names that you've got in there. I need a bigger piece of notepaper, don't I? Alas. However, that'll do for now. Okay, so yeah, we have got our talent from our concept.
Yeah.
Next thing, we get to find out which icon you were born under. So, this is rolling using a D66, which is two six-sided dice rolled as if you were rolling percentile. So if you roll a 1 and a 4, you've got a 14.
Okie dokie. I love the dice.
So what's that? We're rolling what again?
2d6s as if they were a percentile die. So 1 die for
55?
1 die for 55 is the judge. So let me quickly read this little section here, actually. Just the 9 icons are ever present in the third horizon. Almost all believe in their power and the protection they offer from the dark between the stars. Prayers, giving alms, and the burning of incense are common among most people at the start of a long journey, before signing a business contract or just to jumpstart the old harvester in the shed. You are born under the sign of one of the icons. This icon will have a tangible impact on your life and might just lend you supernatural powers. You won't get to choose your icon, this is up to fate. They do actually make a deck of cards that you can draw which icon, but there's also the table here. So, yeah. Knight, you were born under the judge. Drat?
Which means...
Well, I'll tell you that in a moment.
Okay, fine.
Rather than flick back to this table, I want to be able to go to the list of the icons and and do them all in one go.
I seem to remember an anime called The Judge.
2d6 for you, or are you rolling this for yourself? And while Mickey is answering that, what did you roll?
64.
I didn't hear that, but it was 60-something, and it didn't sound like 1 or 2,
64.
so that means the Faceless. Yes, you were born under the sign of the Faceless. And Mickey under the sign of the Deckhand. Right, so let me run through these.
Sorry. This image of the born under the sign of the, well, he was unsurely.
Okay. The Deckhand,
the
Deckhand is symbolized by a key, apparently. This icon is usually portrayed as a tired boy holding a broom. The deckhand can bless homes and ships if they're well kept and the right offerings have been made. The judge, symbol a sword. An old matriarch with a grave face and a sword at her side is the common way to picture the judge. The judge's realm is that of justice and due punishment. The Faceless has no symbol. The seeker among the icons is never pictured. In temples and on icon walls there is instead an empty place or alcove, or an asymmetry in the placement of other icons. Right, and the talents that they will give you.
So, hang on, the guy who's obsessed, whose star sign effectively is just retribution, is also the Mad Bomber.
Okay, right. This is really, really simple, the way the talents for these work. Meki, who was born under the sign of the Deckhand, has the Deckhand's talent. Knight, who was born under the sign of the Judge, has the Judge's talent, which I think is the ability to stop block wars. And unsurprisingly, Drat, you have the Faceless One's talent. And I'll just run through what these do so you know what you'll be able to play with in-game. For the Deckhand's talent, if your ship drops to 0 hull points or energy points, you can restore a d6 points of either kind instantly. This requires no action from you. It is the icons intervening on your behalf.
That's awesome.
As the pilot, you can be considering Meki's character your lucky
my lucky charm.
Your lucky charm, yeah.
So I can fly through all kinds of crazy shit. He keeps it together.
Yep, and he keeps it together somehow because the icons love him. Or the Deckhand does, anyway.
Yeah.
The Judge's talent, you deal an automatic critical injury when your attack hits, regardless of whether the attack penetrated cover and armor. Any other effects from the attack are resolved as usual. Now, these are not happening all the time, by the way. Each use gives the GM 1 darkness point. And generally, they can only, unless it says otherwise, they can only be used once per session. So, you can't fly through an asteroid field and bounce into everything with Meki on board and everything will be fine. Once per session, though. I get a
Did you say the Judge gives me an automatic or critical injury when attacking, ignoring cover?
It's an automatic critical injury, irrespective of cover or armor. You just have to hit to be able to use it. If you hit at all once per session, you can give me a darkness point to get an automatic crit.
So I roll my dice, I get a 6, I invoke the Judge, and the bad guy gets spotted.
Critical injury, yeah.
That works.
Pretty cool. Now, the Faceless one has more text than anyone else. Naturally, because Drut rolled it.
Aren't they the assassins in Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
The Faceless one's talent. Fate is on your side, giving you the benefit of getting to change a single concrete detail in a scene more to your favour. It must be something that has a cosmetic or indirectly helpful effect. You cannot make an enemy disappear, but you can decide that there is a knife within reach, or that a window has been left open. The GM has final say on what it is possible to accomplish with the talent. Remember, you can only use the talent once per session.
Have you given me reality manipulation?
I've given you minor reality
like
manipulation, effectively, yes. I have given you a serendipity talent. Or I haven't. Your dice have given you a serendipity talent.
Excellent. Coincidence magic. Here we come. And it is.
Just so that we know.
Do you wear red and hang out with a guy that has a big hammer?
What,
Just
yellow
checking.
gloves, do you reckon? Oh, that's fun.
It's disappearing off the side of the screen, but at least I've got a note of it here. I can transfer this over to whatever layout I actually create for running the game so that people can see some of this
I don't know if
information.
that counts as cosmetic.
Force field is at full strength.
Okay, so that's your talents. You should now have a concept talent and a
An icon talent.
icon talent.
Mm. Yep.
Going back to the character creation rules, the next step apparently is your personal problem. As a PC in Coriolis, you have a history. You have been through something before the beginning of the game that still haunts or threatens you. Perhaps a mortal enemy, a dark secret, or a strong addiction. Maybe somebody forced you to roll
We've
on
been
the
through
Witcher
shit.
life path tables.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's called your personal problem. Each concept lists 3 suggested personal problems. Choose one from the list or come up with one of your own. So, I think Meki has already got more details on his personal problems than the game really requires. So I don't know that I need to go to list the ones from the data spider. The suggestions for the pilot. You're reckless and take stupid risks with yourself and your ship, even when it isn't necessary. That's not a personal problem, it's a life choice.
Says mine.
Or you hate humanites, the privileged, Nekatra, the Zenithian hegemony, something else, and will do anything to provoke one of them if they get close. Or you scare
Hopefully
easily
just
and
one
never
off.
challenge yourself.
Oh,
You better safe than sorry. Or something
what was
else
that last
you think.
one?
You scare easily and never challenge yourself. Better safe than sorry. or just anything that you think sounds like a fun personal problem for this character. I do have the right of veto, obviously, but otherwise, have a ball with it. While you're thinking about that, I will give you the suggestions from the scientist, though I expect Drat as well, basically as an experienced gamer, just to come up with something. Right, you just can't stay off the cohol. It makes you impulsive and erratic. Bounty hunters are after you, but for something you didn't do. Or a competitor has slandered your good name. One day you shall have vengeance. Or, as I say, yeah, whatever sounds like fun.
Yeah. I'm tempted actually to reverse one of them.
While you're thinking, Drat, can I ask a question?
Yes.
The whole hates humanites, hegemony, whatever, could that be diverted to the consortium who run the planet?
Whatever. It was the list. It gave humanites the privileged, Nicatra, the Zenithian hegemony, / something else. It's basically just a bigotry. If you want to have a bigotry against somebody, you are quite welcome to pick whoever. The particular corporation from the consortium who ran the area you grew up in that you rebelled against would be ideal with this character.
That's what I'm thinking. Given that the way the character seems to be looking, born privileged.
I'd be
didn't like the way
to
things ran.
Slightly expand it out that they probably hate you just as much.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with that. Yep, I'm down with that.
So the next step is your relationship to the other PCs. This is where things get interesting. As you enter the game, you will already have relationships to the other PCs. These relationships will affect how you gain experience points and are useful tools for the GM to create suspense. When creating your PC, describe your relationship to each of the other PCs with a short sentence on your character sheet. The NPC and or pre-gen PC, if somebody else jumps in who hasn't created a character and still wants to play, when we get, should be a fortnight we're playing this, shouldn't it? Well, actually, no, we've got all three of us in the loop now, so 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah, but 2 weeks gap. So we've got Knight doing something and Drat doing something, and then we're actually playing this.
But there was going to be a break because we weren't going to have 3 character gen sessions in a row.
No, we were going to have, as I recall, it's either going to be 2 character gen sessions and then the Nibiru quick start, which has pre-gen characters.
Yeah.
Or, if Drat's okay with it, the other alternative would be to go Nibiru next week, then another character gen session, then the first session of this, which would break up the 2 character gen sessions.
I think Nibiru next week will be the best bet.
Okay, but yeah,
because if nothing else, I need to
anyway,
be Wolfenstein.
Was that the other 2 characters, whether they be NPC or PC, that are pre-gens, I will attach relationships that they already have to the pre-gen characters to your characters. And I will attach the relationships going back the other way to your characters. But I'll make sure that I've let each of you know before we play this what that is, and if you want to modify that and change that relationship, then that's okay for something that fits your character better. But I'll tell you who those characters are and what the relationship is by default. Right, so your relationships. You also, once you've done your relationship to the other characters, you pick one of them as your buddy, your bestest friend in the whole group. And on the character sheet, you'll notice that there is a box next to the relationships section that you tick for your buddy. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. How this affects your experience points, because apparently your relationships affect how you gain experience points.
Okay.
And I haven't read that rule yet, so I honestly cannot tell you how that works. Presumably, at its simplest level, it's just you get experience points for role-playing those relationships properly. You know, if you've got written down that you think character Y is a complete dick, and you spend the entire session, you know, laughing and joking with them and agreeing with all their plans, you're not going to get any experience, I imagine.
So you have to pick relationships with each of the other characters?
Yeah, I
or
mean,
is it
what
with
we're
all
doing for the moment is you have a relationship with each of the other 2 player characters that we are creating. decision.
And the others will be assigned.
Yeah.
You'll be
Likewise,
assigned a relationship for anyone else.
your decision as for your buddy is going to be decide on one of these two or decide it's not one of these two. And if it's not one of these two, I'll off-stream discuss with you which of the pre-gen characters would be best, most suited. Just because, for example, Shahad picks Zainab as their buddy doesn't mean Zainab has to pick Shahad. Doesn't necessarily work that way. You can like them less than they like you, if you see what I mean. So theoretically, we could have a situation here where Drut has Knight as her best buddy, Knight has Meki as his best buddy, and Meki has Drut as his best buddy. It could work that way. Or any combination. Everybody could love Drut. However it works. Is anybody in in-game vegan?
Fish, are you okay with a dark secret for my problem?
A dark secret is absolutely fine. Dark secrets are great. We like dark secrets. We always like dark secrets.
Cool. I'll
sneaky way of keeping your problem out of the quick play scenario and making sure that I have to run a campaign of this just so that I can get your dark secret into play. Well done for that.
I'll obviously run it by you, just to make sure. It's I'm gonna say, actually, you know what? Could be deeply worrying.
Just noticed that Knight has a name there. I'm assuming that is actually the name that you're going for that you've posted there.
Yep, that's the name I'm going for.
Okay, his full name is my son.
What?
Oh yeah. Spelling's different, but yes.
Spelling is different, but yeah.
Apologies for that.
Oh, it's alright.
I hadn't spotted. So I changed my character's name once after I'd done exactly the same thing with Meki's character's name.
No, it's all good. Because I'm very rarely going to use my surname, I think.
Yeah, but that gives the possibility for me to have
wave
all
the family
kinds of
around.
fun by having NPCs yell out Farouk, and neither of you know who you're talking to. The man with the gun steps out of the shadows, aims before anybody has a chance to act, and yells, "Farouk, who's ducking?"
Or returning fire.
Yeah, good point. Yes. Okay.
Okay, so yeah. Let's have a quick look at the way the pre-gen characters have handled these relationships so that we can get an idea as to how it works. So, looking at the scientist, Dr. Almita Wana, who you are replacing, right?
Okay.
Zebo, the engineer in the party, she considers clearly a skilled engineer, but he can take your orders a bit lightly. Ruya, you're unsure about her moral compass, but she's invaluable in tough situations. I think she was a legionnaire, if I remember rightly. I have no idea how you would pronounce that. Sam. A manipulator to the bone. You're not completely immune to his charms. I think that was a courtesan. And Nima, someone you listen to, though unfortunately the end of this sentence is missing from the character sheet. So that doesn't work out so well.
Helpful.
But is the best buddy. There you go. I'm quite glad that character is being replaced by yours, Drat, because it means I don't need to try and figure out what the heck the rest of that relationship actually was.
Yes.
Let's jump back to, again, another character being replaced, the fighter pilot, Nima. So Nima was the fighter pilot.
Captain
Nima thinks of Dr. Wana, the boss, smart enough to realise that she does not always know best. Ruya, good person, reminds you of your old wingman in the Black Swallows. Sam, sneaky, don't like him. Zebo, if only he could keep his mouth shut. And their buddy is Ruya. Makes sense, reminds you of the old wingman, or him of the old wingman. So, it's just a simple, short, what do I think of this person? And you pick one to be your bestest buddy. I may steal the artwork as well, actually, for these characters, because they do have some quite nice artwork in here. So we've got a picture of a fighter pilot here, which I can steal for your character, Knight.
What did you say, Becky? Shihad, yeah?
Also have... There she is, Dr. Warner, who actually looks a little bit like Carrie Fisher. For reasons that I can steal for your character.
I think my relationship to Shihad...
that's the whole sentence.
Good at ferreting out secrets, which is fine as long as they are pointed at the enemy. And your fighter pilot, Rook, I think is going to be like a large, dangerous puppy.
I'm going to obviously...
Stats may change that.
Oh yeah, there it is. It's on that page that I'm now currently sitting on that I should be able to see and say that that's what the rest of the sentence is. No, well, never mind. I didn't notice it. I'm going to require you, obviously, to write these relationships and keep a note of them so that you can either DM me with them or something, and I can... Because what I'm going to be doing between now and when we play, by all means, keep your character sheet. Have your character on a character sheet. It's far more convenient for you, but I am going to put the data from that character into Fantasy Grounds.
Yep.
This will probably include all of the data, including the relationship with other characters, will all get put in there so that I've got access to it all, and it's all there in Fantasy Grounds when you need to see it. I personally always like to have a proper physical character sheet anyway, so by all means, as I say, feel free to keep your character sheet as a PDF or printed out or what have you as well. Just make sure that I know the information between now and then to get it all written up. I'll chase you. I've got a couple of weeks, no problems. But
Yeah, you're subtle.
so, yeah, that's the relationship to the other PCs. Can I quickly ask, has anybody decided that one of the other player characters is their bestest buddy?
I don't really know enough about the other player characters. Could we do roughly where we think our characters are and coming from?
At
Okay.
the moment, I think there's a chance that Shihad could be my bestest buddy.
This is... I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, I must admit, with this relationship to the other characters. Feel free, if we can't finalise things now, that's not a problem. Feel free to discuss this in Discord and get it sorted out. You know, ask questions of each other and actually chat about it in Discord, because we're all on the Discord server, on the Fog Online Discord server, which I will quickly just shove up in chat.
Yeah. I think based on what we know so far, the chances are I would be looking to Shihad to be my buddy, because he's going to be my good luck charm whenever I take to the skies.
The good luck charm thing does really work for both.
Yeah.
But both for your relationship to him and as the reason for being a buddy. You know, viewing him as a good luck charm because somehow things seem to go better when he's on board your ship is a perfectly good relationship to that character.
That
has
to
nothing
be
to do
honest,
with
is
anything else
where I'm
about the
leaning.
character.
That's definitely where I'm leaning.
Yeah, I think Shihad may well be my bestest buddy because I really badly want him on my side
everybody
in
likes
any
Becky,
given
so it comes down to-
situation. He's potentially dangerous.
Right. Let's quickly run through some items of gear. You will get money, and we'll sort out what equipment you get from that money between now and then. We're not going to go shopping on stream, especially with only one copy of the rulebook.
So many games involve an entire session of shopping.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I'm cool with
And
an
how
entire
is this a
session of
bad thing?
shopping, just not this session.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So, starting with Meki, because that's the page that I currently have open.
And I'm now making a note to make sure.
You will get to pick between the following. First off, you can have a personal holograph, or, let me just double check this, it says communicator, but then in square brackets after it, it says IV, and I'm wondering if that means that it's actually either an implant or possibly a biosculpt. It might just be a class 4 communicator or something. I don't know, because I can't find communicator anywhere in those bits. Sometimes it's not entirely clear on some of this stuff. You kind of need to have already figured these abbreviations out so that you can actually understand the damn things.
No,
just a
3D picture.
I'm assuming, yeah, just a 3D picture with some meaning to you. But I will jump to the equipment section and see what it has to say about such things, if it says anything about them at all.
God, I used to be into collecting holograms.
Ah, that's what the IV is on communicator. It is indeed a class 4 communicator. So you have a choice between an orbital communicator capable of reaching the orbit of a planet. This is a model so big it must be carried in a harness and requires energy cells to work. Big old cells, not just batteries, to work. Hydrogen fuel cells, in other words.
Don't get shot in the battery compartment.
Holograph.
Sounds like such a euphemism.
Yeah, the holograph can transmit and receive holographic messages. Holograms are detailed enough to show tiny text and detailed pictures and can, for example, be used to see through a disguise. Three-dimensional floor plans and maps can also be transmitted. A personal holograph is for short-distance communication, about 10 kilometers, usually designed as a wristband or tabula. So yeah, it's a communicator either way. It's either a small holographic communicator or a big-ass backpack comlink capable of communicating with orbit. So,
just out of curiosity, if he uses that, does this mean he has to do it by kneeling down and saying, "What is I bidding, my master"?
Possibly.
That's his activation
Right.
code.
You will also have either a portable lab or a computer. I'm going to take a wild guess that Meki's hacker might want a computer at this point.
Execute Order 66.
Gamers here 66. Spirit of 70s. And of course 68 guns.
God. I can see a formulated playlist of gamer songs coming out of
Sorry.
which means I'm going to need you Fish to
Wouldn't be
write
the
the
first time.
gamer version.
Yes, some of 69 is going to be interesting.
That's going to have some Cthulhu ramifications to try to work out the dimensions of the die.
Oh, yes. Well, it's easy enough. You just roll the d18.
Hit Order 66. Okay, yeah, so portable computer.
Computer.
Next, you will have... Right, either an exoshell or a database. I'm actually going to be mean and I'm going to insist on the exoshell here because the scenario requires that everybody has an exoshell. So, an exoshell basically, think of it as like an armoured back suit.
You know that exo skill I could have taken earlier on when I decided to go for the targeting system.
But
Oopsie.
everybody in the quick start has an exoshell. And there is a scene very early on where you are all using exoshells. So where exoshell is an option here, I'm making it for you. And you're having an exoshell. Just
Makes sense.
keep the game working. So next you have a choice between a pressure tent or a med kit. Not sure quite why your hacker would want a pressure tent. Actually, I'm just...
Or a med kit for that.
I'm also looking at the wrong page. Yep.
Oh, you always
I
looking
looked at
at
the wrong page for the last two. You're still fine with your computer, though, because your computer was, in fact, still an option, but it was a proximity sensor. For some reason, I flicked back to scientist instead of a data spy. So, yeah, all right, your next choice, then. Ooh, there's no option for an exoshell here. I'm going to have to give you an exoshell if this doesn't work out. Bugger.
I suppose the other option is if most of us don't have the option for an exoshell, make the other choice, and then we all get the exo.
Yeah, I may just give you the exoshell as part of the ship's equipment then, in that case. So yeah, you've
Makes
got
sense.
your computer. You have a choice between a stun gun or, and this, I'm going to need to explain it because it sounds absolutely silly when just read out like this, a Vulcan cricket. Now, Vulcan cricket is, of course, played with 3 ears, a left ear, a right ear, and a final front ear.
Is it like a noisy cricket with blue blood?
Yep.
It actually is
Something
like a
along those
noisy
lines.
cricket, yeah. The Vulcan gun is the name given in this setting to gyrojet pistols and rifles. So, or for those who know Warhammer 40,000, bolt guns. It is a gun which fires rocket-propelled ammunition. The cricket, I think, is the smallest version of such a gun.
I see no way this could possibly go wrong.
Yeah,
We're-
the standard the standard weaponry for people flying around on spaceships in this game is something that fires mini rockets. It comes just before the locust.
Yes. Okay. Exactly, Dav. And to much the same effect.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned noisy cricket, Dave, because that is the gun from Men in Black.
Explosive decompression is your friend.
Until it isn't.
So that was what,
Okay, I've yet
3?
to find a description of the Vulcan, apart from it being light. But its stats, and I know that
Stun gun, not a fun gun.
that Vulcan guns are gyrojet rifles, but a specific description of the Vulcan cricket
Cricket.
I have not found.
Because what, generically, or you just feel like it?
It's a good question on the choice of stun gun versus cricket, it's got to be said.
Yeah, true.
Now, stun gun versus cricket bat would be a far more interesting conversation.
Well, that depends on what cricket bat you're talking about. If you're talking about the heinous game played on the planet Earth, which causes them to be ostracized by the entirety of the rest of the galactic community, because it is so outrageous that one might make a game out of something so deadly as the invasion of the cricket robots. That wouldn't be such a big deal. But if it's actually a cricket bat from one of the cricket robots, that's a nasty thing it is. Right, so we've got a Vulcan cricket.
Of course, this is where we find out the Vulcan cricket is actually some kind of crazy sport from Star Trek, where that's done in zero.
Yep.
Okay,
So-
so
dimensionals.
next choice. You can have a tabula, which in this day and age you would call a tablet, as in digital one, not as in pill. Or a transactor with 1,000 beer. Now, I'm assuming that's basically a cred stick, but I'm going to try and find it and see.
I need to take a quick FK. I'll
Tell you what
be
else
right
I'm going
back.
to do. I'm going to stop flicking through this book, and I'm going to remember that I've got a perfectly searchable PDF open here,
Well, there is that.
and actually make use of the wonders of digital technology.
Mm.
I fed you once already, I'm not feeding you again.
You're getting bugged. Oh, yes, you are. Hello, Mom.
Okay, well, I've got a cost for a transactor. Do I get a description? Personal identity card that can hold beer and credit as well as other information. Since it is personal, it is easy to trace. So yeah, basically a ID stroke credit card with 1,000 beer on it. Or a tablet. tablet that can be operated by hand or using ornate stylus pens. Everyday object used to gather information, keep a diary, or just read the bulletin news. One of the other concepts actually does get a transactor with fake ID on it. The fugitive gets a transactor with fake ID. I'm willing to bend the rules a bit and give you the fake ID instead if you want. You don't get the credits on it if you have the fake ID, just the fake ID. So your choice. You can either have 1,000 beer or you can have a fake ID. Take the money. And last but not least, I have to look up what the hell these are. Because it's
What the what are?
two things that are in-game universe things. Right. Okay. Oh, right. And you will have one of them. You have no choice in this. That's interesting. Okay, so I need a description now of Arash. There it is, Arash. Arash is a strong stimulant with pain-relieving properties, usually smoked in a hookah or added to so-called dream wine. Leathery pieces of pressed Arash can be eaten directly, but this is considered a sign of strong addiction. The user becomes drowsy and calm. -1 to all skill tests. So you either have Arash or you have Opor. Synthetic Arash, stronger and more addictive. Usually smoked in long pipes or burned on a plate, with the smoke being inhaled under a rag. Can also be injected. Gives the user a powerful high and -2 to all skills.
Oh, wacko.
And that's your two options. So, you know, you've either got a drug or a different drug. Apparently data spiders are just a bit dodgy.
Crack? Yeah.
Can you please not have -2 addiction? Okay, so you've got some Arash. I mean, I need to do a further read through the setting material here, but I think the fact that it's listed under everyday items in here, Arash is clearly a very common thing that lots of people smoke in their hookah. And you are not actually addicted to it unless, of course, you've chosen that as your personal problem. But you could get addicted to it in game, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But you have got some, anyway. There we go, that's Meki.
Incoming message.
Next up is our pilot.
Yes, indeed.
Right, first choice that you have. Let me just... I know what a talisman is, but I just want to see if we've actually got a specific description in setting. Yes.
I've got an ancient boxed board game.
Ancient boxed board game, yes. Picture or symbol representing one of the icons, worn on the body or placed somewhere visible in a vehicle, spaceship, or shop to bring good fortune and protect against dark influences. A blessed talisman grants a +1 modifier to 1 dice roll. See the talent, Talisman Maker. So you can have a talisman, which will give you a +1 pilot to 1 die roll. Or you can have a set of ordinary tools.
Is that 1 die roll ever, or 1 die roll per session, or...?
Well, I will need to look up the Talisman Maker to be sure. That sounded like 1 die roll ever, but I will look at the talent.
Okay.
Which is going to be in the Mystic rules, isn't it? Because it's clearly a Mystic talent. So we'll find the Mystic rules. Or I've got to use this searchable thing that I already established was
The PDF. Dots, yes.
I can do this, honest.
Oh, good lord, Mickey. D20 is a talisman.
Right, you know how to create and bless talismans. The process takes a d6 hours and requires a chapel or altar. A talisman provides a +1 to 1 skill test, then the blessing wears off. So yeah, would be a talisman that would give you a +1 to 1 piloting test, and then it would wear off.
Mm-hmm.
The alternative is a set of ordinary tools.
Sorry, a set of...
Ordinary tools.
I'll take the tools, please.
Okay. So, tools.
So I can use those more than...
Okay, since I am apparently giving exoshells to people, anyway, you can have a hand jet. Because you're going to get an
that sounds fun.
So,
What's a
anyway.
hand jet?
I have no idea. I mean, I've
Okay.
got a wild
Some culture,
guess,
isn't it?
but again, I think
Special
it's going to be quicker just to search hand jet. A handheld jet unit designed as an engine for one person in 0G gives +1 to dexterity in 0G. So yeah, it is basically a 0G maneuvering thruster thing, handheld type thing. It's one of those things that divers use only in space. Yeah, you're playing Subnautica in space. Or if you're Drat playing Helion, it's a fire extinguisher.
Yes. I discovered the fire extinguisher can be used to steer G. I was in trouble and I'd just been watching Gravity soon. I was surprised as anyone to find out it worked.
I must get back and see how that game is coming on. It's got the single player stuff included now and everything. Right. Well, since you already have a targeting scope, I'm still going to give you the choice at this point because it's the first time that we've been through character creation in this system.
Okay.
You can either have a Class 4 communicator, which is the orbit range communicator that comes in a backpack style carrying capacity, or you can reselect your talent, get your targeting scope from here, and become either an exo-specialist or have 0G training.
Ooh, you know what? If you're going to allow me to do that,
I will allow you to do
I'll
that.
take the scope here and become an exo specialist.
Okay, sorted.
Force field is at full
So your next choice is between a stun weapon or an accelerator pistol. Accelerator pistol is what railguns are called in this setting.
Accelerator pistol, please. Let's face it, my background is pretty much terrorist. Why would I be stunning?
True.
all phases complete.
And finally, you can either have exquisite clothing or you can have a flight suit.
Flight. All about the flight.
All about the flying.
Yeah.
I've pretty much abandoned my privileged family life, everything else. Why the hell would I keep their bloody stupid clothes when I can have something utilitarian and you?
Oh, goody. Citizen pilot.
Maybe I should change his last name to Smith.
Right, so our scientist has a choice first off between a Class 3 communicator or a proximity sensor.
Okay.
So let's just remind ourselves of the communicators. We didn't look at Class 3, we looked at Class 4, which we know is a huge backpack job.
Mm.
Class
That's
3
better.
is a long-range communicator, usually handheld, communicates up to 100 kilometers distance.
Right. Or what was the other thing?
But the other thing is a proximity sensor.
Mm-hmm. Seems a little bit of a downgrade, to be honest.
Let me find the proximity sensor, and then I can tell you I'm going to take a wild stab that it probably comes under survival gear. but I could be wrong. So I'm going to quickly search for a proximity sensor.
Search for the proximity sensor.
Currently I'm holding a book with a cat standing on my lap and still trying to type. So apologies for slight delays. The proximity sensor scans several spectra of the surroundings and displays detailed live information about terrain, vehicles, and even individual persons in the area. The information is not exact enough to identify someone or to make out more about a vehicle than type and model. The sensor has 2 modes. Active mode covers extreme range in open terrain and forests. Hidden objects and threats require a skilled sensor operator to spot. The sensor allows the operator to test technology to find hidden things in her surroundings. When the sensor is in active mode, it is easy, +2, to discover it using other sensor tech. Passive mode.
And I don't have technology.
This mode has long range, but is less risky to the user as it won't reveal the user's location. No bonus to technology to spot the sensor user. So it comes down to, do you have a proximity sensor which you delegate use of to one of the 2 people in your team who have technology, at the very least 2, because both the other PCs do.
Yeah.
Pretty certain both the other PCs do.
Every other bunker's got it, yes.
Or do you have your nice 100-kilometer handheld communicator?
I'm thinking proximity sensor.
As I'm seeing in my head at the moment, I may be wrong about it, your 1980s mobile phone.
80s mobile phone is about what I'm seeing, yes. I may have to buy one. But proximity sensor is what I'm taking from this choice.
Okay, prox sensor. Right. Next up, you can have a computer or you can have a portable lab. Now, let's just have a quick look and see how they define a portable lab. Because I saw it as I was flicking through. I saw portable lab, I remember seeing it. Portable laboratory, a lab unit which can be used for most analyses, comes with bio, rad, chem and spectral sensors, gives a +2 to science when analysing foreign substances and objects.
I'm thinking portable lab. Might be a plan.
We've got a portaloo, lab.
Thank you.
You will then have a database, because again, I'm giving you all your exoshells for free, apparently.
Yep. What does the database actually encompass?
Data, probably. I would imagine. Since you don't get a choice in it, can we look it up later?
Yeah, of course.
You then have a choice between a pressure tent or a med kit. You're going to want to know what a pressure tent does, aren't you?
I am.
4-person tent that regulates pressure and gas levels to make the inside atmosphere pleasurable to humans. Comes with enough oxygen for 4 people in a completely oxygen-free environment for 1 day. In low oxygen surroundings, the oxygen will last proportionately longer. If the tent absorbs some oxygen from the surrounding atmosphere, harmful substances are filtered out.
Right.
Sounds like quite a useful piece of kit.
It is. What do you get in the med kit?
Right. A med kit is an ordinary bag of medicurgical supplies for treating wounds, poisonings, radiation damage, or severe illness. Contains a diagnostic unit, suture gun, pneumatic needles, bandages, and other basic gear, as well as 10 M-doses. M-doses are basically auto-injectors for curing shit.
Okay.
Medkit gives a +2 to Medicurgy. Bonuses for medical equipment do not stack. Use only the highest bonus.
Just out of curiosity, nobody else has got a medkit yet, have they?
Not
I don't.
Medkit then. Because I've got the Medicurgy skill.
So that kind of makes sense. And then you can have a compass or advanced tools. That seems a bit unbalanced.
Unless the compass is a hell of a
does
lot more
something way
impressive
more awesome
than
than it sounds. Yeah. Compass gives +1 to survival when orientating in difficult terrain, if the local magnetic fields allow it. The compass comes with a built-in altimeter to help when travelling through hills and mountains. It's not that awesome.
It's not.
Not, is
My
it?
watch does that.
Advanced tools, multi-tools for all kinds of advanced repairs as long as the proper spare parts are available gives +1 to technology. You're not a tool person. You'd be delegating again.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tools ordinary that Knight already owns, by the way, they allow the repair but don't give any bonus. The advanced tools give a bonus.
Yeah. I think I'm actually going to take the compass because I have survival. And I put several points into survival.
Seems logical.
Okay.
Despite it not being awesome.
I want to know, when you are in space, what does the altimeter read?
The altimeter just lies quietly in the corner crying.
Yeah.
To the blanket, rocking gently to it.
I suspect it lies and says 0 because it's in a pressurized environment. It's working on the pressure.
Could be. I mean, do we have artificial gravity? That's going to screw everything
I'm pretty
up.
certain we have artificial gravity. If nothing else, there are you've got a garden on the top of your spaceship.
It'd be very, very dirty around the Arboretum if there was no artificial G.
Yeah, true.
Okay, the last thing, barring spending your starting capital on equipment, which we're not going to be doing here, that is supposed to be decided is your crew positions. Now, fairly obvious that Knight is going to be the pilot.
Yes.
And I hesitate to say this, but Drut does seem to have fallen into the captain role, rather.
I'm sorry, pardon.
Sorry, you've just completely broke up, Fish.
Who fell into the captain role?
Drut.
Ah.
Because you're very much the pilot, Knight.
I am
and
very much.
They are separate roles.
And I don't have any command points.
No, I don't have commands, except in as much as, well, let's face it, she'll probably be played with it.
It does,
I've
however,
gone for
say
privilege.
in here also, you are free to switch positions during play, so the choice is not permanent. Basically,
Take
these crew
the
positions are
captaincy
really
initially.
only important during space combat.
Yeah.
And the positions are captain, engineer, pilot, sensor operator, and gunner. Now, you've got one character who really belongs in both the pilot and gunner roles here. Who was also probably the best trained for sensor operator. And should just fly the whole damn ship on his own. But
What's the sensor operator come under?
I would guess that sensor operator must come under technology.
As would engineer.
As would engineer.
So basically, I could fly the whole ship on my own.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you could. Did I take manipulation? If not, why not?
I will say now, though, that the scenario does not involve space combat, so it's all a bit redundant, except as a role-playing point as to what do you normally do. I would suggest that maybe you Blake 7 it, and while there are roles that certain characters are likely to jump into, anyone's really going to be doing anything. I mean, not anyone can fly the ship because you haven't spent the time to actually teach them how to do it, unlike the scenes that we had demonstrating in early Blake 7 that Jenna taught everybody how to do basic piloting.
Which, to be honest, they may well be doing.
But that's the kind of thing
that'll happen in game.
If we carry this on, can be done happily in game anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely, Becky. You would be perfect for the sensor operator in this situation, provided that people can actually trust that what the sensors are telling you is what data you're giving to them, and it hasn't been manipulated, tweaked, and otherwise modified along the way.
I think she wouldn't be a lazy pilot, Dav. I think she would be one of these. You all know your jobs. Kill them.
This is where Meki spend an entire session just completely gutting the ship of its wiring and rewiring it so multiple things can be done from one station.
Stick my head out periodically. Is this something I should know about?
No. No,
right,
nothing to see there. Move along.
Right.
Because I would really like to read the guns to the pilot seat, please.
So, last thing we're going to do before I end this stream and we all wander off is just purely as a heads up in advance. So, in case you want to do any tweaking over the next couple of weeks or what have you, I'm going to read you the opening to the scenario.
Okay.
The bridge of the Nazalis is quiet except for the steady hum of the ventilation system and the faint sound of avionic sensors. You've been travelling through the depths of the Dabadan system for the last week. At first, it was just another mindless routine job. Pick up and drop off. You've done this 1,000 times before. But then something happened. A blurry signal from a representative for the Foundation. An offer of a lucrative mission if you found a missing ship, the Shamsa, carrying a professor from Dabadan. The pay was too good to turn down, and the coordinates of the last known position of the ship were just a short detour from your route anyway. So you took it. That was 2 days ago. Now suddenly the ship's sensors have come to life. Alerts and prompts warn you of something close by. It's not a ship, it's a station. And that is where we will be beginning in 3 weeks' time.